Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Raw Law Unfiltered Traveling Edition with your host, your favorite host, the DUI Guy Plus. Of course, as you can see today, I am in my mobile setup, and the quality is junk, so I do apologize in advance, but we're not here to watch me. We are here to watch the trial, which I'm pulling up right now. It hasn't started yet. According to Law and Crime. So that's where we're at. I hope you all are doing fantastic. I have been quite busy. I'm in Massachusetts right now with Chandler. She went out to go get some breakfast for us. In the meantime, we are just going to be here waiting for this thing to start. For some reason, my thing still says like IV cam in the corner. I don't know why. I bought this damn thing and I paid for it, and it's still, sometimes it glitches on me. So please excuse my, oh, hold on. Chandler's here. Hey. And she brought goodies. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the license code, where's the bloody thing? I can't find it. When I was in thank you so much, dear. When I was in I can't speak, Levy County. What was the name of that island?
Oh, what was it again? Something? Cedar Key. Cedar Key. I keep calling it plural, keys. In Cedar Key, I bought this thing. Chat is saying hi to you.
Oh, hi, Kat.
But now it won't, like, it's not registered for some reason. This is so weird. I literally paid for a lifetime membership. Where's my email?
I remember that.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, I know, you did.
This is so stupid, and now I can't find it. StreamYard license code. Like, they literally just wanted me to keep buying these things. Lifetime memberships. How many lifetime memberships can you own to one thing that's the same thing? But whatever. We're not going to mess around with it. I don't care. I'm on my traveling laptop, so it's a little bit different. How are y'all doing today? y'all excited? Today is going to be a big day, folks. Very big day. Julie Albert is still on the witness stand, and Brian Albert is next. And my selfie stick is on the way. But that's the I forgot my selfie stick, folks. I feel so silly. I forgot my selfie stick, and now I ordered a new one. Actually, they were like, "Hey, it's arriving today," and I'm like, "What? Like today?" And they're like, "Yeah, today." I said, "Sweet." So hopefully that's going to be arriving soon, and Chandler is going to be a deer picking it up for us. But yeah, she says she refuses. So never mind. I guess. So okay, Angela Martin is bringing up the $1 million question. You're literally popping out with it, which I can respect. Apparently, because they're in the smaller courtroom, there's a new system for getting in, and this new system is really crappy because here's how it works. So if you're media, if you're press, which again, I still consider myself to be, obviously, as you all know, the problem with me getting in as press is that Massachusetts does not recognize you unless you have an official website. Literally, if you have a media website, because when I applied for my media press badge from the SJC in Massachusetts, this is Massachusetts only. In Massachusetts, go along with whatever.
Thank you. Be seated. Close the session.
Oh, they looked me up. I didn't give them
22117
the
Commonwealth
website.
versus Karen Reed. Counsel, please identify yourselves to the record.
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson from the street.
Good morning, Mr.
So I have to get
Jackson.
in as
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little,
family,
also on behalf
basically.
of the
Good morning, Ms. Little.
And good morning, Your Honor. David Unetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Gianetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. All right, did counsel want to see me at sidebar?
I had asked, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have to get in as basically as family. I would be sitting with either John O'Keefe's family, which obviously I would highly doubtful I would ever be invited to that camp, 10 people, or I would have to have a personal invite from Karen Reed's family. So I'm currently working on the latter. Hopefully I will be able to get into court while I'm here, because otherwise we just came, just to say hello to everybody, which I'm fine with that too. So if I'm able to get in, then great. If not, so be it. Like I said, I'm not complaining. There's my homie going over there. That bailiff and I are friends now. Forget his name. Jerry was the other guy. Jerry's that guy in the back. You see that guy? That's Jerry right here. He's also my bestie now. That's Jerry.
There's Kevin.
Kevin? Was it?
Kevin was one of them.
Maybe Kevin. Maybe that was the tall, skinny guy with the short hair.
No, that's a different guy.
No, Kevin was in front.
Yes.
Kevin is outside. Kevin is outside policing, making sure that no trespassers get in, I think.
Let's see if I can remember.
Yeah, Tommy. Turtle Boy is in court today. He's part of the media pool. But yeah, anyway, that's where we're at. So let me see if I can fix my StreamYard thing, because it's really annoying. I don't like seeing the IV cam in the corner like that. Makes me look cheap, which I'm not, because I paid for the damn thing. StreamYard. When were we in Levy County? March? Stream with the Hills Lawyers, April 6th. April 6th is when I bought it.
It was right before my LSAT.
Yeah.
So it was, I think, early April. Or late March.
No. It was the day I bought it, like the day they were streaming, remember? Because I was trying to fix it.
April 5th through the 8th, we were in County.
Yeah. So April 6th is when I streamed with the lawyers. But why is it not in my inbox? Is it StreamYard? This is so weird. I know I literally like removed it the day of. Are they going to make me buy it again? I don't even have my previous emails though. Anyway, I'll work on it. Maybe I accidentally bought for like a month, which I highly doubt. I think I bought lifetime. License code. Like this, I can't even find the word. Here we go. Found it. April 6th. Here's the code. Sweet. Oh, I got it. I guess they just didn't call it StreamYard in the email. That's why. Sweet. There we go. See? Problem fixed. Happy at Heart, thank you so much for the one gifted. By the way, shout out if you got a gifted membership from Happy at Heart. And Alicia Tousley, thank you for joining on as a member. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct's everybody doing today? How you doing, folks? You having a good day? You having a good time? Are you excited? Today's a huge day, folks. Today's a really, really big one. There's Turtle Boy. Hey, there's our homie. He scratched his face right when I said his name. It's like he can. I love how he just kind of leans in. This is great. And there's Grant. Ugh. That's where's Sue? There's Sue. This is Boston 25, I think. There's Ted. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, thank you, Michael. Jennifer Shaw says she's stressed. Why are you stressed, Jennifer? What's wrong? What's on your mind? Oh, bingo card. Do we have a bingo card for today? That's a great question. I don't think there's any moderators in the chat yet. Lady Autumn Sky is the only one in the chat who's a moderator, and I don't know if she has access to the bingo cards. Let me see if I can find maybe one of the older ones. Bingo. I have this link. Here we go. I have a bingo card link. Why are you stressed, Jennifer? Moving house. Oh, you're moving. Uh-oh. Oh, Alabama Rose. That's the old one. I just posted it. Karen Reed is signaling something to her family. I don't know what that was. Oh, yeah, Lady Autumn Sky. Don't worry about it. Alabama Rose, I think, is on it, maybe. But we have the one from previous times. Unfortunately, I only got a chance to stream this trial for 2 days. Day 1, day 2, and now day 9. So I kind of have about 7 in between. I didn't get a chance to stream. I just couldn't make it work. Too much legal work. Clients needed me. You know what I'm saying? Clients needed their lawyer. Hey, babe.
Yeah.
My selfie stick is here.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go grab it. Where are they?
It should be at the front desk. There's nowhere else it could be.
Okay.
I told them to drop it off at the front desk.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate you. Good luck with your move. I hope it all works out. Tom CPU sent us over. Nice. They're taking a break. That's interesting. That's really early for a break. Oh, my biggest fan is back. Babe, my biggest fan is back. It's so stupid, but it's a joke that never gets old, I guess.
For some people.
Yeah. I'm the only one who laughs at my own jokes. We're not hearing anything because they were doing a sidebar. Try NBC 10? What do you mean? NBC 10? They have a better view? Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Because Law and Crime is restreaming that, huh? Good call. Now we get rid of the copyright cucks little thing in the bottom corner. Oh, Saidi, thank you so much. She says, or he, love your work. Did you get a key card? Okay. Love your work. Much love from South Australia. Thank you so much. And much love from Dedham, Massachusetts, because that's where I am right now. Very fanny, Larry. Oh my God. These jokes write themselves. If you don't laugh at your own jokes, you shouldn't. Who is taking care of Kitty? Justice for Kitty. So she's homeless right now. We left her to die. We are not leaving any water. We didn't leave any food. We made sure to scrape out her litter box so that she has nowhere to poop, and just figured, she's just gonna be a wild cat for the next couple of weeks. Just see what happens. Only the strong survive, and Zinnia's gonna have to prove her mettle. That's kind of what we do in the household.
Unmuted.
And we'll see if we come back and she's alive. It's going to be great. If we come back and she's not alive, well, she didn't make the cut. That's just the way it works.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All parties having anything to do before the Honorable First Justice Beverly Cannoni, now sitting in the Dedham Superior Court within and for the County of Norfolk.
I'm suddenly craving
Draw near, give your
cannolis.
attendance,
I don't
you
know
shall be
why.
heard. God save the Commonwealth from this good court. Thank you. You may be seated. Morning, Your Honor.
Morning. All right. Good morning again, counsel. Good morning again, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. Happy Friday. I appreciate you all being here, ready, willing, and able to start. We got an awfully lot done in about 5 or 7 minutes over here at Sidebar. So we made you wait, but in the long run, it's we'll speed things up and make things go more smoothly. So we appreciate your patience. Those same 3 questions, have you all been able to follow the instruction and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you all able to
Castaway
follow the
Kitty
instruction and
edition.
refrain from doing any independent research or investigation?
No, she's being watched by her neighbor.
Affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? No. One thing I did want to say to you folks is, if you can't hear a witness or a lawyer, or you can't see something, I don't know that unless you raise your hand. So if you raise your hand, the court officers don't have the power to say to the witness, please answer that again and speak louder, but I do. So if you raise your hand, court officer will come over and let me know, and we can make sure that happens. All right, so I remind counsel to keep their voices up, and you've been doing a great job of moving out of the way of the jurors toward the end there, so please continue to do so. All right, is Ms. Albert here?
She is fixed. May the odds be forever in her favor. Yes, Mary. This ain't Hunger. Well, actually, it's not Hunger Games. It's Hungry Games. Get it? Get it? She's gonna be Schrodinger's kitty until we open the door. That is correct. I'm gonna open the door and find out if she's there. Oh God, that's funny. Is this better?
Okay, I'm just going to remind you, keep your voice up, please, Ms. Albert,
will.
okay? All right, Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does that sound better?
Good morning, Ms. Albert.
Good morning.
We're back on cross-examination of Albert.
And you will recall yesterday, I broached the topic with you of how often you and Courtney Proctor speak to each other over the phone. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
And when I asked you to describe the frequency of those phone calls, I didn't put any words in your mouth, did I? I didn't suggest how frequently they were. You came up with the word.
I don't really.
Well, let me put it this way. When I asked you how often you talked to Courtney Proctor, you could have chosen any word in the English language to answer that question, correct?
Oh,
Correct.
here we go.
What
Nice.
was the word that you chose?
Not often.
No, that's not what you said.
I
You
don't
said
remember.
rarely.
How about
Honestly.
rarely?
Yep.
Rarely.
Yes.
That was your word, correct?
It could have been. I
Oh
don't
my
really
God. Do you not
recall.
remember what you
I
said
was-
yesterday, lady?
I don't recall.
You don't recall telling this jury yesterday that
Yeah.
when I asked you about how often you spoke to Courtney Proctor by phone, you said, well, rarely.
I don't remember.
Oh my
What
God.
is
This
your
woman is a
definition of
mess.
Rarely.
Not daily. Not daily. Not.
Them?
Yes.
Oh my
Once in a
God.
blue moon?
No.
Rarely doesn't mean to you 67 phone conversations within a 7-month period, does it?
A 67 time period in how many? 8 months?
In about 7 months, 67 times.
It's not a lot. I wouldn't think it's a lot in 7 months.
3 times in one day? Is that rarely?
No, but I'm not. That wasn't every day. I would.
Okay, well, when you...
It wasn't every
left
day.
the
That's
stand
rarely.
yesterday,
I made a joke
did you log into your account or check...
to my girlfriend. I was like, I talk to my friend Josh once a week, and I wouldn't call that rarely.
confirm those 67 calls?
No, I did not.
Did you speak to Mr. Lally about those 67 calls after we broke yesterday and before you took the stand today?
I don't believe so. No.
I don't believe so. The answer is no,
One of
lady.
those rare occasions? Yesterday?
No, I did not.
Oh my God.
No, I did not.
Have you spoken to Mr. Lally? I don't believe so.
As to whether or not...
Since
you
yesterday.
actually called her those 67 times.
Objection.
Sustained.
All right.
Wow.
In any case, regarding all of those 67 phone calls from February 1st until September 6th, do you maintain that during none of those calls or any portion of those calls did you and Courtney Proctor discuss the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
I do not remember.
You are a
Do you
liar.
deny discussing that investigation?
I don't deny, but I do not remember.
I don't deny, but it.
All right.
That's
Well,
an admission.
You admitted yesterday, after having seen the records, that you spoke with Michael Proctor's sister for 12 minutes on February 1st of 2022. Do you recall that?
I don't recall the conversation. No, I don't. It was a long time ago.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. Finish your answer.
I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. I just don't remember.
Okay. But my question is, after seeing the records, you saw the phone call for over 12 minutes, correct?
Correct.
And you also remember that that was the very day that the police arrested Karen Reed for this case, correct?
Correct.
The arrest of Karen Reed on February 1st was pretty big news in Massachusetts, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh, come
You had
on.
seen
She can answer
arrest
that.
all over the news, correct?
There you go.
Correct.
So you certainly, given the day and the fact that it was February 1st and my client was arrested that day and you're talking to the lead investigator's sister, the subject of Karen Reed's arrest had to have come up, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
You certainly mentioned my client's arrest with Courtney Proctor on the very day that she was arrested and you were talking to Courtney, correct?
Correct.
Now, when we broke for the day yesterday, I had also asked you about the 3 phone calls that you had with Michael Proctor's sister on the morning of February 2nd when my client was arraigned, correct?
Correct.
And you recall that her arraignment was televised publicly, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
You saw her on the news being arraigned, correct?
Correct.
And one of those phone calls after, well, strike that. With regard to the 3 phone calls before the arraignment, you knew at that time that my client had been arrested the day before, correct?
Correct.
And you knew she would be arraigned in court that morning, correct?
Correct.
Certainly, when you were talking to Michael Proctor's sister on February 2nd, before her 9 o'clock arraignment, you were discussing the 9 o'clock arraignment, correct?
Can you repeat the end of that, please?
Sure. On February 2nd, the day that my client was scheduled to be arraigned in Stoughton District Court, we're talking about the 3 phone calls that you made to Michael Proctor's sister before that arraignment
agree,
that
Sidey.
very day. And my question is, certainly you were discussing the fact that she was about to be arraigned, correct?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
Did the subject of Karen Reed's arraignment come up in any of those 3 calls on February 2nd, the day she was going to be arraigned, before her arraignment?
I don't remember exactly.
Liar.
What about the 27-minute phone call that you had with Courtney Proctor at 10:58 a.m. that same day after my client was arraigned in court? Did you discuss the arraignment that had just happened?
I do not remember.
You had already
She's
testified
lying.
that by 2022, you were no longer babysitting for Courtney Proctor's kids, correct?
I wasn't babysitting regularly like I was before.
So is it your testimony that you happened to be talking about babysitting on February 2nd for 27 minutes, the same day that my client was arraigned in Stoughton District Court?
I don't remember what I was talking about.
Thanks,
it could have been
sweetie.
about the kids. It could have been about anything. I don't remember.
Sure. And certainly it could have been about the publicly televised arraignment that had just occurred, correct?
Objection.
So I'll allow this and then let's move away from this, okay? Can
It-
you answer that?
Yes, it could have been.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Did you tell Courtney Proctor during any of these 67 phone calls that you were a witness in her brother's case?
I don't remember.
Okay. Ms. Albert, you were at the waterfall on the night of January 28th, correct?
Yes.
And you also went to 34 Fairview on the morning of January 29th.
Yes.
Yet, as of the date of these phone calls that we've discussed so far, the February 1st and the February 2nd, multiple phone calls, Trooper Proctor still had not interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
You were finally interviewed by Trooper Proctor on February 10th, about 13 days after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
And you told Courtney Proctor that you were nervous to speak to her brother, Trooper Proctor, about this case. Do you remember that?
I do not remember those exact words. No.
Oh, that's interesting.
But you were nervous to speak to him, correct?
Of course, I was nervous in general for a police interview. I mean, I don't know someone who wouldn't be.
Were you worried
Nice cover.
that one of Trooper Proctor's colleagues might ask to speak to your son, Colin, about what had happened on the 28th and the 29th?
Objection.
Was I nervous they would ask my son?
Yeah, were you nervous that one of the investigators in this case might approach your son to ask him about his whereabouts?
No.
All right. In any case, you were interviewed at 5:30 p.m. on February 10th, correct?
Correct.
Where did that interview take place?
At my home in Canton.
Who was present for that interview?
Me, my husband, Trooper Proctor, and Trooper Bukaki.
Trooper Bukaki?
I'm sorry.
Michael Proctor
How did they want?
agreed to interview you and your husband together.
There's a Trooper
correct?
Bukaki that interviewed
Objection.
Albert. Julie Albert.
You and your husband were interviewed together,
Okay.
correct?
Correct.
Did either of these troopers, including Michael Proctor, suggest that maybe the two of you should be separately interviewed?
I don't recall.
When
I don't
did the
remember.
interview take place within your home?
In my family
They were
room?
interviewed together?
Were you sitting on couches?
Yes.
You're comfortable?
Yes.
You were not in a police interrogation room, correct?
No, I was not.
And it wasn't particularly lengthy, correct?
What do you define lengthily? I don't recall. I don't remember how long it was exactly.
It didn't go into the evening, correct?
No.
And then Michael Proctor and the other trooper left, correct?
Correct.
Then at 6:17 p.m. that same night, shortly after you had been interviewed, you called Michael Proctor's personal cell phone number, correct?
I don't remember.
Let me have a moment.
Okay.
You didn't bring your cheaters today. Oh, you did? Good. Okay. May I approach you, Ron?
Yes.
This is the same document. I'm going to hand you one document. There's an orange sticky on it that you can ignore.
Okay.
But right above the orange sticky, there's a date of February 10th. That's what I'm directing your attention. You could look at those 2 phone calls, ma'am, and look up at me when you're done. If I may approach.
Look, I'm not here to judge what you do on your personal time, but this is courtroom testimony, Andrew.
Did that refresh your memory about those 2 phone calls on February 10th?
I mean, I just read them, but I don't remember.
Okay. You called Trooper Proctor at 6:17 p.m. and it appears to be a 5-second phone call. Did you see that?
Objection, Your Honor.
You
Why?
recall that Trooper Proctor called you back that same day at 6:21 p.m. and that you spoke for about 4 minutes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Why?
Do you deny speaking to Trooper Proctor for 4 minutes?
I like how he just moves on like
when
nothing
he called
happened.
you from his personal cell phone on February 10th of 2022 after you had been interviewed that day?
No, I don't deny it, but I don't remember it.
When did you get his personal cell phone number?
I don't remember.
Years ago?
I'm sure, yes.
Because you've known that family for a long time.
Yes, I have.
And as you testify here today, you can't remember what that phone call would have been about, correct?
No, I do not remember.
Okay, I'd like to contrast your relationship with Karen Reed versus your relationships with Jennifer McCabe.
I'll
and
answer
Courtney
that question
Block.
later,
You would
Melissa.
agree
I
with me,
marked
and I
it.
think you testified yesterday that Jennifer McCabe is one of your best friends.
Correct.
And you call her Jen, correct?
Yes.
And Courtney Proctor is also one of your best friends, correct?
And Billy
She's not
also.
one of my best friends.
I'm
No,
gonna
she's a
address
good
this
friend.
as well.
She's not one of my best friends. No,
I'm
she's my
bookmarking
sister's best friend.
your questions.
Gotcha. Okay, so your sister
My
Jill,
sister Jillian. Yes.
Jillian is best friends with Courtney Proctor, and you're close friends with her, but not best friends.
Correct.
But you really only knew Karen Reed as John O'Keefe's girlfriend, correct?
Correct.
She was just an acquaintance of yours.
Yes.
There are no photos of you in a hot tub,
Morning, Cheryl.
right? You and Karen Reed?
No.
There are no photos of you with your arms around each other at the beach, correct?
No.
You've never been to a baby shower with Karen Reed, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You didn't have any contact with Karen Reed while you were growing up, correct?
No.
Karen Reed was definitely not from Canada, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow this and then you can.
No, she was not.
No, one more question. She was an outsider, correct, to Canton?
She didn't live in Canton.
But after she started dating John, you would see her driving in and out of the street, correct?
Yes.
You'd see her taking groceries in, correct?
Yes.
Because you were neighbors with John.
Yes.
And it was the fact that you'd see her around, taking groceries in and out of the house and being outside with the kids that led you to believe that she was not only connected to John, but also to his house on Meadows Ave, correct?
Yes.
And you would see her interacting with the kids outside, correct?
Yes.
She would be participating in family type activities with the kids outside.
Yes.
And you'd see her enough that you assumed that she was living there, correct?
Yes.
And I believe you stated that you had known her or seen her for maybe about 1.5 years or so. Is that a good estimate?
Yes.
And in all the time that you saw her in the neighborhood or had any contact with her and John, you never saw the two of them fight or argue, correct?
No,
You never heard them fight or argue, correct?
no,
And you had been out with them in a group setting a handful of times, correct?
just a couple of times.
And during those times, they always appeared to get along, correct?
Yes,
And you knew of no problems in their relationship, correct?
no,
And you were particularly impressed with the time Karen spent with John's adopted children.
Objection.
Were you?
can you repeat that once more, please?
You were impressed with the amount of time that Karen spent with John's children.
I didn't know the exact really amount of time that, I mean, she was there a lot. Yes, she was. So yes, I would assume that she spent a lot of time with them. Yes.
Now, on Friday, January 28th, you had
What happened?
plans with your sister-in-law, Nicole, correct?
Yes.
You are close with Nicole.
Yes, I am.
You picked her up at her home in your car.
Yes.
You drove her to the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
And the two of you went for dinner there.
Yes.
Your husband, Chris, came later.
Yes.
Brian Higgins came later.
Yes.
And you knew Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Some sort of sidebar. All right, let me answer some of your questions, which are really, really good. Why are objections not being explained? Why?
I believe you testified that you knew Brian Higgins at that time, correct?
Yes.
We'll come
And
back.
how did you know him?
He is a friend of my brother-in-law.
And your brother-in-law would be Brian Albert, correct?
Yes.
And by the way, when I just asked you that question about how you knew Brian Higgins and what his relationship was to Brian Albert, you didn't hesitate to say that they were friends, correct?
Correct.
It was very clear that they were friends, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the two of them arrived at the bar together, correct?
Yes.
And it didn't surprise you to see the two of them together, correct?
No.
Karen and John came sometime after that,
I believe shortly after that. Yes.
and they walked over to your table.
Yes.
And then John kind of came up from behind you and sort of in a joking way dug his finger into your shoulder
Correct. Yes.
and essentially said, what's up? And that was about it. And he went on, correct?
He said, "What's up?" and made a joke. And
And the joke was, given the fact that you and your husband moved from the neighborhood, they decided to hold a block party. Correct?
yes.
And John was the same jokester he always was, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And you had some contact with Karen while you were at the bar before you had to leave because of the migraine, correct?
Correct.
And she was just very bubbly that night, correct?
Correct.
That's just her personality as far as you could see, correct?
As far as I knew, yes.
You didn't know her that well, but that's how she always was, correct?
Correct.
And you left the waterfall at around 11 o'clock, your best memory?
A little after 11.
And it was a particularly bad migraine that night,
Yes.
and the loud music didn't help you out at all.
Not at all.
And you drove home?
Yes.
Now, when you got home, your son Colin was not there, correct?
Correct.
He was not out with you at the waterfall.
Correct.
He was out that night, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that he stops by your sister-in-law Nicole's house quite a bit, correct?
Yes.
He's very close to Nicole and Brian's kids, correct?
Correct.
He's also very close to his aunt and uncle, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, correct?
Correct.
So you would have gotten home maybe shortly after 11:10 p.m. approximately?
Around 11. Yep. Around that.
Hey, babe.
That was
Come here.
when you entered an empty house.
Camera's turned off.
My son Dylan
And
was
so is
home.
the
Oh, Dylan was
microphone.
home.
Yes.
Look,
But Colin was not.
He was not.
Christopher Ryder,
And Colin did
complained.
not come home at 11:30, correct?
Correct.
Larry
Did not come
Foreman,
home at 11:45.
da da da,
correct?
Correct.
complaint
And when the clock
instructions.
turned
You remember
midnight, he
this.
Still wasn't home.
He added more text, I
Correct.
think.
Now, at some point,
Recap dates.
Your
March
husband,
5th, I told
Chris,
Mr. Foreman in an
Yes.
email that my address being public on YouTube has put my family's safety in risk. March 13th, Mr. Foreman republished my address using his bar ID number.
That's what time I believe
Signed,
he
blah,
did.
blah,
Yes.
blah.
Okay. That 12:10
Hey, why do you
a.m.
need a bar ID number?
The complaint is being returned to the complaining party advising of this disposition. No response is required.
Prior to taking the stand yesterday,
I told you this is going to happen.
was that?
It has been determined the enclosed complaint does not state an ethical violation and is not suitable for alternative disposition. Therefore, Bar Council has determined to
No.
decline without investigation to entertain it. If you have any questions, please contact. I don't want that. I don't know what that is.
Waterfall video, I think it's exhibit 53, just that portion.
Oh, you.
We may just have a moment, Your Honor.
Oh, shoot. Did I thought my microphone was, oh, I guess I had the wrong mic hooked up. Oh, well. I could have sworn I had.
I'm going to allow my colleagues some time to
Hear me?
find this, and I'll move on with my questioning in the meantime. We could have the lights on again.
Right now, my microphone should be off. Like, as I'm talking to you right now, my microphone should be off.
Now, I believe you've testified that the waterfall is very close to D&E.
Oh, my God.
Correct.
They heard me.
Your house on Maple Street is about a half mile away from the waterfall. Would you agree with that?
About that, yeah.
Oh,
Would
well.
you agree it's a 7 or 8 minute walk home
Speakers.
from the waterfall if you're walking? I know,
It's
I
so
realize
weird.
you
That
were
shouldn't
driving,
have-
but if somebody were walking, it would be about 7 or 8 minutes.
Maybe a minute or two less.
Okay, so you would say 6 or 7 minutes would be a better estimate to cover that half mile?
Depends on how fast you walk, yes.
And it was snowing that night, correct?
Correct.
The ground was a little bit slippery.
Yes.
If I may just have a moment. If I could have the light.
How did that work?
This is the exhibit I'd like to show you, ma'am. And if you can pause for 1 second. Do you recognize what's depicted in that video?
Well, cat's out of the bag.
That appears to be the waterfall?
Yes.
Okay. And you see the time?
Julie, they're here for you. They're here to arrest you.
Yes.
Okay, if you can run that, Mr. Bates.
That's really weird. So, like, okay, so you guys can hear me right now. I am speaking. Okay, I'm just gonna say numbers. 1, 2, 3,
I am going to direct your, do you see where it says CH3?
8,
Yes.
9,
See the
10.
time
You should not have heard
stamp,
4
correct?
through 7.
Between those two markers on the video, you're going to see somebody walking by. I'd ask you to pay attention for the next, 6 seconds or so.
I don't know. Maybe I fixed it now.
Stop. Do you recognize that person?
Yeah, that's what
Yes,
I
I
said. Okay.
believe it's my husband.
You can run that.
You did not hear 4 through 7. So I guess I must
Would
have
you
done
agree with
something. I don't
me
know.
That your husband left the water.
That's the way it should have been. Like I said, I'm on my traveling setup.
In 46 seconds.
Well, yes. I mean, that's what it says on the screen.
Okay. So it was closer to 2:14 than to 2:10. Would you agree with that?
Thank you, folks.
12:14, you mean?
You know what? You're right. 12:14.
Thank you, RJ Medic. A little late for that. That was
Yes,
off
that's what
screen.
I'm seeing.
Thank you. So If he's leaving at around 12:14, and by your testimony, it would have taken him he was walking home, you knew that, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, he didn't have a car that night.
he
What
did
kind
not.
of bets do you want
And
to take,
if it took
Sidey?
him 6 or 7
Tell
minutes
us.
to get home. And by the way, let me strike that question. You had said it takes 6 or 7 minutes. Did you factor
Yeah,
in
no kidding.
the fact that of the weather that night for your estimate about a 6 or 7 minute walk?
Objection.
Can you answer that question? Is that what you said?
Yes, I didn't factor in the. I don't know.
All right, so your testimony would be, you don't know if it would have taken him a little bit longer, or anybody.
Anybody, everyone walks at a different pace.
Right, but whatever pace they walk at,
Mhm.
Given what you saw of the weather that night, is it your testimony that maybe it would have taken a little bit longer than the estimate because
It
of the
could
weather?
have.
Okay,
I
but
don't
in any
know.
case, let's leave it at 6 or 7 minutes. That puts your husband coming home at around 12:20 or 12:21, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that 12:10 estimate that you had, you made that estimate before having the benefit of the video, correct?
Correct.
Now, where were you within the house when your husband came home?
In my room,
Bedroom?
upstairs in my bedroom.
All right. And you share a bedroom with your husband.
Yes.
And when was the first time that you saw him within the house?
He came up to the bedroom.
Okay, so you were in the bedroom and you see him appear in the bedroom.
Correct.
Did you hear the door open way down on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay. And it would have taken him maybe about a minute to get upstairs. It wasn't very long?
It wouldn't be very long, no.
Okay. And when he got upstairs, you noticed that he was in wet clothing, correct?
Yes.
He appeared to be cold.
Yes.
And he got undressed, correct?
Yes.
Did he brush his teeth before bed?
I think he got right into bed.
Okay, so you didn't see him brush his teeth or wash up.
No.
And were you in the bed when he came into the bed to go to sleep?
I was sitting up in bed, yes.
Were you reading or watching TV?
I was just sitting up in bed praying for my headache to go away.
Oh, okay. The migraine was still really
Yes.
bothering you. And you were suffering at that point.
Suffering? I had a headache.
Well, yeah, but a migraine headache, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
It was a headache, but I took medicine and I was waiting for it to get
waiting
better.
for it to kick in.
Yes.
Okay. And that's sort of what you were concentrating on. It's really kind of hard to read or watch TV or concentrate on anything when you have a migraine, right?
Okay. Yes.
It's just, you can't even answer basic questions,
no.
lady.
You would agree with me that your husband Chris was asleep when Colin came home, correct?
Correct.
And as a mother, you couldn't have gone to sleep until you knew your kids were home, correct?
Correct.
And Colin was the remaining child who was out there, which when he came home, that would given you license to go to sleep.
Yes.
Now, at the time that Colin came home with Chris sleeping, it's fair to say this was just an ordinary weekend night, correct?
How do you?
Well, in other words, you didn't know that anything tragic had occurred or was alleged to have,
Michael.
correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't like you were paying attention.
That's
to
correct,
the
Jamie.
clock at
She can
that
only
point
remember details when it benefits the
and
prosecution.
recording your memories as best you
She's
could
like a police officer.
for you to be testifying,
Straight up.
correct?
That's what cops do.
Correct.
Which also explains the 1210 estimate, right? I mean, you're being asked about, times that things occurred, and it was just sort of an ordinary day, right? So it's difficult to pinpoint times, correct?
Correct.
She's getting really flustered.
Okay. Now, directing your attention to the next morning, you missed a phone call from your best friend, Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And you believe that phone call, I think according to your memory, yesterday came in at 5:55 p.m., correct? I'm sorry, 5:55 a.m., correct?
Correct.
That was the time that you gave Mr. Lally when he asked you the question on direct examination, correct?
Correct.
And you were able to recall that time nearly 2 years later, correct?
Yes.
But regarding the 67 phone calls
Yep.
between you and Courtney Proctor. that
Oopsie daisy,
happened
don't remember.
after that, you're not able to recall any of those, correct?
I just don't remember them.
Yeah. We get it. You're a
All
liar.
right, in any case, January 29th was your nephew Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
That's why you went to 34 Fairview at 8:30 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
And when you pulled into the driveway, there was nothing unusual to you, correct?
Correct.
This was just your brother-in-law Brian and your sister-in-law Nicole's house with snow around, correct?
Yes.
There were no police on scene.
No.
There was no tent protecting the front lawn, correct?
Correct.
No crime scene taped, stapled anywhere or taped anywhere, correct?
Correct.
Nobody appeared to be standing guard over the front yard, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see any shard of glass, right?
No, I did not.
You didn't see 45 pieces of tail light strewn about the lawn, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you didn't see any pieces of tail light, correct?
I don't recall seeing anything.
And you didn't suspect that 34 Fairview was a crime scene, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
There was nothing that prevented you from walking all over that front lawn, correct?
Correct.
It was still snowing out?
Yes.
Brian Albert, when you approached the house, he opened the door, correct?
I approached the car, not the house.
Oh, okay. You approached, whose car was it?
My nephew Brian's
Brian's?
in the driveway. Yes.
All right. And then Brian Albert opened the door of the house.
The side door of the home. Yes.
All right, so can I have Exhibit 8, please, with the court's permission?
Yes.
We don't have an extension code, do we?
No.
Can you do me a favor? Hopefully the signal stays strong. I just, this outlet right here, let me check it one last time, but I don't think it works.
That's good.
Well, actually, I believe I unplugged it. Maybe that's why, obviously it's not gonna work now.
I'm so bad.
That one doesn't work either. Can you plug it in over there
Yeah.
and see that it's, because it's draining battery. I lost like 25% in 50 minutes, so it's not gonna last.
That I'm highlighting now is the front door to the house, correct?
Yes.
And
Is it
if you
charging?
Move along
Okay.
Exhibit 8
Thank you.
to the right. Is that the side door?
Yes.
And that's the door that Brian Albert appeared from?
Yes.
And you were able to see him from the outside of the house, correct?
Yes.
And you were over to this area?
Yes.
Do you recall, is it one of those two cars that's in Exhibit 8 that you approached with the Dunkin' Donuts?
I can't make out what the cars are.
Okay. But it was either one of those two cars or a car that was parked in one of those two places.
Yes.
All right. And then did you go in that side door to go into the house?
Yes.
Fair to say, that family has lived there for quite a while, correct?
Yes.
You knew that prior to Brian Albert and Nicole, I'm sorry. That's really bad form to block the jury. I am so sorry. It's good I didn't trip. The door that is the front door, having been familiar with that house for a long time, you've gone in that front door before, correct?
Yes.
And you know that when you go in the front door of that house, you come into a little foyer area, correct?
Correct.
And then almost within arm's distance to the left is the door to the basement, correct?
Walking in the front door, arm's distance to the left.
Yes, in other words, you walk into the house.
Yep.
And then the door to the basement going down to the basement is right there on the left, correct?
That's incorrect. To the left is a library.
All right. Where is the door to the basement?
You walk in the front door, you step to the right, walk a few steps towards the kitchen, and the basement door is on the left before you enter the kitchen.
All right, but the kitchen's off to the left, correct?
No, when you walk in the front door, the library is on the left. There's another room on the left.
Okay,
So you walk in, you immediately see a staircase in front of you. And to the left is the library.
There's a room after you get out of the cab.
If you go to the right,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if you go to the right, you can go into the part of the kitchen where the kitchen table is, or you can not go to the right, you can walk straight, and as you're walking, there's a door on the left, and that's where the basement door is.
Okay, so I think we're getting to what I was getting at. If you walk straight ahead, there's a door to the left that goes down to the basement, correct?
Correct. Yes.
We can have the lights on. And when you were walking toward that side door, you didn't see any emergency or police vehicles outside, correct?
No, I did
Good
not.
catch,
You didn't
computer.
see any first
Chip
responders
it.
other than Brian Albert, correct?
Correct.
There were no lights flashing outside the house, correct?
Correct.
And inside, you saw Nicole Albert,
Yes.
Brian Albert,
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe,
Yes.
Matt McCabe,
Yes.
and Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
How long did you spend at the house that morning?
I don't remember exactly, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't remember exactly.
And the 7 of you were discussing what had happened, correct?
Yes.
At some point, it was decided that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police, correct?
Objection.
I'll let, if this witness knows, definitely.
Can you repeat that once more, please?
At some point, it was decided among the 7 of you that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police Department.
I don't remember who exactly Jennifer decided. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the discussion.
You knew Michael Lank, correct?
Yes.
And at 8:53 a.m., you sent to Jennifer McCabe Michael Lank's personal cell phone number, correct?
Correct.
And did you then see Jennifer McCabe delete that text message from you?
Objection.
No, did you see it? The question is, did you see it?
You were contacted by the Massachusetts State Police this year about your phone, correct?
Correct.
They left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024?
The state police
Yes.
about my telephone?
Well, they left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024. You've had contact with the state police this year.
Yes.
And they left you a second voicemail on March 25 and then called you again on March 28.
Yes.
You told them that you were sick and you would speak to them on April 1st, correct?
Correct.
And then the state police called you on April 1st, but you did not pick up. Do you recall that?
I do not.
They called you again that same day and you didn't respond, correct?
I don't recall.
But you did learn that they had called your husband on April 1st looking for you, correct?
I don't recall.
All right. After speaking with your husband, you texted the Massachusetts State Police on April 1st.
I'm
correct?
face palming so hard right now.
I think around that. I don't know the exact date.
All right. And you finally met with the Massachusetts State Police on April 3rd of 2024, correct?
I would assume. I don't know the exact date, but yes.
It was a month ago.
During that meeting, the state police looked through your phone for contact that you would have had with Mike Proctor, correct?
Correct.
Did they seize your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they tell you that they had a search warrant for your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they take it back?
Is she
saying
blushing?
They had to give it to some experts to do an extraction?
Objection.
Sustain.
They just looked through it after you handed it to them, correct?
Correct.
Then they gave it back.
Yes.
Now, with regard to your contact with Karen on January 28th,
Thank you.
it was clear to
I
you
just put
that
it on
Karen
the side.
did not appear to be under the influence, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see her stumbling, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see her swaying.
Correct.
She was not unbalanced.
No.
She was not slurring her words.
No.
She was not talking gibberish.
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation.
Yes.
Looks like Yannetti took a playbook out of the DUI guy book.
She appeared to be under control, correct?
He's literally
Yes.
asking the same questions I always ask
On that night.
on DUI cases. I love it. I wonder if he's seen my videos.
I didn't come in contact with them like that.
Well, the two of them certainly were not arguing.
No, not that I saw.
You didn't see any tension between them, correct?
No.
And I mean, given your family's connection to law enforcement, you would not knowingly let someone drive a car if they were under the influence, correct?
Objection.
Everyone appeared to be having a good time that night, correct?
Yes.
And that included John and Karen, from what you could see, correct?
For the 10, 15 minutes I was there, yes.
Now, after you left the waterfall, it's fair to say that you didn't know precisely where your son Colin was that night, correct?
I knew where he was.
Where was he?
He was at his friend Michael Leonetti's. He left Michael Leonetti's to stop to say happy birthday to my nephew Brian at 34 Fairview Road.
Okay. And you learned that from him, correct?
Yes.
So you had learned that Colin was at 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, correct?
January 28th.
Oh, now you
Right.
remember clearly, huh? That's Crystal for some
You
reason.
know that Colin left on Friday night as opposed to after midnight on January 29th?
I don't understand what you're asking.
What just occurred
This
is
woman
I
has a
asked
very
you
selective memory.
whether you knew
Very
that
selective.
Your son Colin was at your sister-in-law Nicole's and your brother-in-law Brian Albert's house on January 29th, and you just corrected.
I'm sorry, it was after midnight.
Okay.
So I got confused. I apologize.
Not a problem. So the answer to my question is you learned that he was there on January 29th, correct?
Yes, after midnight.
And you now know that that is the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead that morning, correct?
Yes, I do.
And one last question. You were interviewed by Trooper Proctor, and it's fair to say you never told him that Colin was there that night, correct?
I don't recall my interview.
Typical.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lally?
Just briefly on.
Redirect. 102. 10.
Morning, Ms. Howard.
Good morning.
Now, with reference to, you were asking a question about 67 calls over a period from February to September, correct?
Correct.
That's about 7 months, is that right?
Yes.
And roughly about 210 days or so?
Yes.
Do you have other friends besides Ms. Proctor?
Yes.
And versus some of your other friends, as far as those phone calls, 67 times. over
Might as well be
210
Senator
days, is that
McCartcock. Oh, God.
more so, less so, or
Good
on
name.
average with?
Less so.
And at no point in time did you speak to Ms. Proctor that you recall about this case or talk to Mr. Proctor outside of that interview?
Correct.
In the interview that you had with Trooper Proctor, there was another trooper present, correct?
Yes.
And you would just ask some questions about meeting with some other troopers this year in 2024, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Fair to say none of those troopers was Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And it also wasn't the trooper that was with Trooper Proctor when you spoke to him.
Correct.
And they asked you questions. You had at least 2 interviews with them. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you voluntarily went to those interviews?
Yes.
You answered their questions?
Yes.
They asked for your phone?
Yes. When I was sitting there, they looked at my phone. Yes.
So they asked for your phone. You provided your phone?
Yes.
Voluntarily? Nobody threatened you with a search warrant or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, Lady Tammy, now that the cat's out of the bag. It was not intentional, I promise.
You were asked some questions about timing, and I promise there's no math that I'm asking in this, but you've had to walk outside when it's cold outside, correct?
Yes,
You tend to walk faster or slower when it's cold outside?
faster, me personally.
When you went over to your in-laws' house on the morning of January 29th to drop off donuts for your nephew, you weren't expecting to go inside, correct?
Correct.
You weren't expecting to be standing around talking to people about a friend of yours potentially having died at that point.
No.
Oh, interesting observation.
May we approach?
Okay. Just feel free to stand up.
All right. Are we doing a quick sidebar? All right. So while we're doing the sidebar, why are objections not being explained? So I learned yesterday, apparently, Auntie Bev has a standing order in the courtroom. In the courtroom, you are not permitted to state the basis for your objection. If you need to state the basis for your objection, you have to come to the sidebar. I don't know why. I think they're actually not protecting the record in case of an appeal. But look, I'm not there, so I can't tell you. But apparently, like objection relevance or objection speculation, objection witness is leading the witness. You can't say any of those in Auntie Bev's courtroom. Per Auntie Bev, she said that. That's directly from Paul, one of the people who has been protesting and appealed and unfortunately lost the 200-foot buffer zone rule. Okay, so that answers that. Now, he was also in the courtroom, I think on Monday, right after firefighter McLaughlin testified. The jury, interestingly enough, now this is all hearsay. I wasn't there yet. I'm hoping to get in next week somehow. I need to connect with the family. And we're gonna be having dinner or something with Kelly, Karen Reed's sister-in-law, either tomorrow or Sunday. Sunday's Mother's Day, so probably not. But I'm working. I'm coordinating. I'm trying to make things work. The only way I can get in is by invite only. There's the only way I can get in because the SJC does not allow an individual who does not have a website. Don't ask me why. If you have to have a media website. I have websites. I have 3 websites. KYLawcleaning.com, thecarcrashguy.com, and LarryForemanLaw.com. And I have the major umbrella, ForemanAndAssociatesLaw.com. Every single one of those websites is public. None of them are media-centric. They're all law websites. And the SJC looked into me and they were like, no pass for you. This is only in Massachusetts, so it's bullcrap. So I'm trying to get in. I want to get eyes on this jury. But to answer your question, Billy Marie, apparently anytime Lally is direct examining one of his witnesses, the jury is kind of like, kind of looking at the ceiling and stuff. This is according to Paul. I have not seen this with my own eyes yet. But apparently the jury is not really paying attention during Lally's direct examination. Hopefully I'll have a chance to confirm next.
Morning recess. You're actually complete. Your testimony was out. It's complete.
Thank you.
All right. So, but let's let the jurors go first because we're doing something that may take a little while. So we got you coffee and bagels.
They got him coffee and bagels.
Okay.
Surprise to the jury.
Okay, we're on a break. Andrew, that's same question. Hopefully that answers it. No rule. They don't do grounds for rulings because Auntie Bev prohibits that. Fraud. You came in just at the right time. Congrats on beating a bogus bar complaint faked by a woman abusing, grifting, frauding, piece of trash. Keep doing what you're doing, sir. My compliments. Thank you, frauded. That was not intentional. I swear to God, folks. My microphone, I'm on my traveling setup. It glitched. I was not going to really talk about it, but now that the cat's out of the bag, I kind of have to. And that answers also Lady Tammy's question at the break. Can we hear about this bar complaint? So apparently, Chrissy, also known as Christopher Ryder, he was talking about this like a couple of weeks ago. When was he talking about it? Let me give you guys a timeline. So I interviewed the cat sometime in March. God, I really don't want to waste time on this more than I have to, but I'll just clean this up for you guys so you guys know. So I interviewed him in like March, and he didn't like how it went. He was really, really upset about it. So he decided to make a video, and he made a video, Christopher Ryder, for public safety. He made a video that was like, you know, that didn't go very well. I'm really upset because, you know, he thought he was going to use my platform as a springboard to spew his propaganda. And when he was sorely disappointed that he is not getting a chance to spew his propaganda on my platform, he got very upset. And he called it like a shock interview or something. I don't know. He used many different terms, many different names, because he was not happy at all. And I'm not going to give you my platform to speak crap and nonsense if you are going to be a fool and trying to make a mockery of my audience, and especially trying to make a mockery of me. So he did this video called Let's Do an Assessment of That Together. That's literally the name of the video. Don't watch it. It's a waste of your time. And he basically was like attacking me like, oh, DUI guy did me dirty. DUI guy did me wrong and this and that. And I popped into the chat. And the minute I popped in, he went from this to, oh my God, hey, DUI guy. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, like I didn't really mean anything I just said and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool, you snake. So about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, Dummy Kruger premieres 2 videos. And by the way, you should absolutely go see them. They're incredible. Calling him out. And by the way, there's more evidence that has come out that Chrissy has been in jail in April of 2000 or 1998 or whatever it was. I don't even care about the timeline anymore. I moved way past it. I forgot about him. I don't care about him anymore. He made a couple videos, wrongfully so, by the way. Now the cat's out of the bag. I could talk about it. He said, I'm filing a bar complaint against DUI guy. This video premiered 3 weeks ago. And apparently somebody reported him for harassment, and YouTube like shut him down for a minute and they had to make a second video. Now they're both on his channel. I had nothing to do with it. I mean, I think I made a joke. This is like a month ago, April 10th. So April 10th, he made that video. It's really stupid. Like I said, it's completely meaningless. And not only that, he violated the complaint rules, the bar complaint rules. It literally says complaint instructions. Instruction number 1, Supreme Court rule. Here, I'll show you guys. This is you can't make this stuff up. This is the craziest shit. Sorry for swearing. I'm working on that. Look at this. This is absolutely insane. The first rule. Okay, this is me right here. Christopher Ryder, you know, all this stuff. Supreme Court Rule 3.150 provides this matter is confidential until the Inquiry Commission or its chair has acted. And this is the reply. This is the reply from the Kentucky Bar Association. Pursuant to SCR, it has been determined the enclosed complaint does not state an ethical violation and is not suitable for alternative disposition. Therefore, Bar Counsel has determined to decline without investigation to entertain it. The complaint is being returned to the complaining party, advising of this disposition. No response is required. If you have any questions, please contact. Oh, Andre Bergeron is working for them now. He used to be a judge, before that a prosecutor. I like Andre. Andre is a good dude. Yeah, he was one of the guys who looked into this for me, and thank God. Of course, Chris is not going to be like, you know, actually, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to give him any content. But anyway, first rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. Exactly, Justin. So anyway, it's really dumb. It's really stupid. He tried. There was nothing there. He knew there was nothing there. I knew there was nothing there. He filed it anyway. It is what it is. That's the end of it. So Chrissy loses yet again. The only time he's not going to lose is when he goes to jail. I'm being serious. Like I'm not one of those people who's gonna like stir up drama. I mean, I know I'm known for like being a little bit of a hothead sometimes, but I know the prosecutor in Hardin County very well, and he's seeking jail time on Chrissy, and rightfully so. What's his name? Paul. No, I can't think of his name right now. I've had a couple of jury trials with oh, come on, Larry, what's his name? Hold on, I'll find him for you. It's on the tip of my tongue. Thomas Moore. Philip Moore. Philip Moore. His name is Philip Moore. Philip Moore. Mr. Moore is a prosecutor in Hardin County. He's the one who's been prosecuting Christopher Ryder. Here's the funniest thing about Chris. All he had to do was just own up to it and be like, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry, I missed court, 25 years ago, or 26 years ago. Can I just get a break? And Phil would have been like, yeah, dude, don't worry about it. Just dismissed. It's 26 years old. Who cares? The reason Phil Moore is coming after Chris so hard is because Chris is milking it for content. Because he's an idiot. Thank you, Matthew. Star S. I'll take that. But yeah, and thanks again, Fraud at Wrangler. People keep telling me to like stay away from Chrissy, and that's what I'm doing. So like I said, hopefully this is the last time I'll ever mention his name because he's not worth the time of day. Thank you, Fraud at Wrangler. So we're on break right now, a bit early. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the courtroom. But I guess we're waiting right now. What kind of questions do you all have, if any? What, if any, questions do you all have? Oh, my girlfriend's taking a nap. She can't. What, if any? Go to Ted Daniel. Yeah, Turtle Boy is inside today. Turtle Boy is officially media, and good for him. He's earned it. Let's see what Ted has to say. Judge sends jury out to take something up. Defense attorney Tim Bradl is called into the sidebar. He represents Aiden Kearney. Oh. Interest. Oh, no. Oh, please don't tell me they're screwing with him. Mr. DUI guy, sir, can we get a TL? Too long didn't watch on the trial. Is she proving that she was framed or is she getting cooked? Okay. Period. This one is easy. So we are on day 9 of testimony. I have been streaming it for 3 of those 9 days, but the other 6 I have been either watching it on my own dime and, of course, following Twitter and comments and Aiden and other stuff about what's been going on. So far, this is what we've learned. And look at my face. This is 100% sincere and serious about what the prosecution has proved. Are you ready? Up to day 9 of the jury trial of Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Karen Reed, we know the following facts. Karen Reed is a good person who has loved John O'Keefe very much. There is video and photo evidence of her being very loving towards him hours before his death, maybe even leading up to minutes before his death. We know that she was likely not under the influence of alcohol. She may have been, but we don't have exact proof because they had to extrapolate because they never took her breath or blood at the time of John O'Keefe's death. We are aware that evidence has been held in red Solo cups and brown stop-and-go bags, so it's not properly preserved and completely useless for purposes of prosecution. We have learned that broken taillight evidence has been peppered in after the incident occurred. So during the investigation, there were no red taillight pieces. They came later. We know that Karen Reed was the only one trying to resuscitate John. Everybody else didn't really care. She was the only one who had genuine emotion when John died. She was in a frantic panic, and she was mortified and horrified and tried to do something about it. She was the only one with genuine emotion. Everyone else seemed to kind of be very off, maybe faking it. You be the judge. You have to watch the video. We have learned that firefighters in this case, like firefighter McLaughlin, firefighter, what's his name, the young kid who was so eager to be there, know more about the police who investigated the scene. We have learned that firefighter McLaughlin lied about her relationship with the family, namely the daughter. And there are multiple photos that have surfaced on social media outside of the case that she was very well connected and friendly with the family. And we also learned from firefighter McLaughlin, by the way, that it was firefighter McLaughlin who perpetuated the whole theory of I hit him, that Karen Reed was saying, I hit him, because she was saying it to somebody else, not anybody. And she's the one who told everybody. So it was firefighter McLaughlin. Very, very shady individual. If you watch her testimony, you'll understand what I mean. Then there was the, what am I missing? Hold on, I had a thought and I lost it. Firefighter McLaughlin testified. Hold on. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Firefighter McLaughlin testified also. What am I forgetting, fam? Oh, the My Cousin Vinny moment. Yeah, I made a reference to My Cousin Vinny. This is kind of off topic. And then the kid who was testifying, he said it, My Cousin Vinny. Because I'm telling you, it's literally My Cousin Vinny. The whole case is My Cousin Vinny. It's I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk. Whoa, wait a minute. You know, like that's, and then he said, I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk. It's straight up. But yeah, the firefighters know more than the police. I said that already. The police reports are all jacked up. Oh, Michael, we have already confirmed through at least opening statement that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, has a very close family connection. And we're learning that through Julie Albert yesterday and today. She used to watch Michael Proctor's kids, and she used to babysit them. And so there's a lot of phone calls and communication between the lead Massachusetts State Police investigative unit, Michael Proctor, and Julie Albert and the Alberts. So there's a lot of protection going on there. We also learned that Michael Proctor, like days after John O'Keefe's death, if not hours, he was going through Karen Reed's phone looking for nude photos and very disappointed when he was not able to find any. We also learned, this is number 15 now, we also learned that when he was going through her phone, he was already very, very biased towards Karen Reed because she's an outsider, and he wanted, he did not like her. He used words like the C word. He called her all sorts of names, and he hoped that she would unalive herself, paraphrasing here. That was the lead investigator in the John O'Keefe murder case. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. What else am I missing, folks? For too long, didn't watch. Aren't you supposed to start what the heck the trial is about? The girlfriend allegedly killed her boyfriend. That's it. That's what the trial is about. So the one thing that the judge has not been allowing, this is number 16, the judge has not been allowing any testimony, excuse me, not allowing any photo evidence of like how friendly the witnesses are to the McCabe's and the Alberts. The fact that there was blood in these red Solo cups, how do you preserve it? There was never a refrigerator, it was never put somewhere. The leaf blower, that's right, the leaf blowers to clear snow from the crime scene. Like, how stupid is that? They have not touched on the autopsy yet, the dude. The kitchen incident where they've been questioning by Proctor. That's right, number 19. The fact we learned today that Julie and Brian Albert, when they were being questioned by the police, they were questioned together so they could literally work on their testimony in front of each other, make sure that their testimony matches up rather than being questioned separately. Nobody investigated the people in the house. That's right, number 20. No investigation of the house or the people in the house. So I hope that that gives you enough of a recap. By the way, can you do me a favor? Either Lady Autumn Sky or Alabama Rose. Can you do me a favor? I just named 20, 20 facts live from memory. Do you mind going back in the video? One of you, I don't need both of you. Going back and kind of like just writing it all out and sending it to me on X so I can tweet about it, because that's actually really good. That's a really good question, because clipping it is a little too complicated for Twitter purposes. Let's just make a list, if you guys don't mind. Alabama Rose, I know you're really savvy at that. Just go back real quick, the 3-4 minutes that I've been talking, and write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I would really appreciate it. Also, when did we go on break? I forgot to timestamp it. Oh, number 21. Yeah, they gave the dog away. And the dog, yeah, they gave the dog away, the dog that was living in the house. Number 22, they moved out of the house and sold it like very shortly after John O'Keefe was murdered. Number 23, thank you, Denise. The first responders living in the house never came out of the house. There you go. There's 23. Number 24, Brian Albert retired. Well, I mean, we can stop here. I think like 20, 22, 24 is like already overkill. Alabama Rose. Can you go back in the video and make the list, or no? So basically, to answer your question, is she proving that she's being framed so far? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Alabama Rose. I appreciate you. Thank you, Rose. All right. Let me go get this timestamp real quick. It was 18 minutes ago. Approximately. 18 minutes. So let's call it 1:10, give or take. 1:10:00 break. Morning break. All right. Any other questions? No. Well, we're still watching my biggest fan. Fanning away. I don't know anything about the autopsy photos. I don't think they came out yet. Judge Bev said she's going to allow them, but I don't think. There was a joke somebody said. It's not a joke. It's a fact. But when is the we are on day 9 of the Karen Reed jury trial. When is the prosecution going to call a prosecution witness to the stand? There we go. It's fact, folks. Like, it's not even a joke anymore. It started out as, oh my God, I can't believe it. This is so weird. This is so crazy. And now it's literally like, are they going to call anyone who's going to, like, no way. Oh my God, no way. Ted Daniels said, I just spoke with Aiden Kearney's attorney, Tim Bradl. He said he's here because the prosecution has requested that Aiden Kearney be removed from the courtroom. The twists and turns never end. Mother effer. Wow. Okay. He is officially removed. Oh my God. Why can a slime bag like Grant remain and a truth sayer like Turtle Boy removed? I don't understand. Oh my God, I am so upset. God. This is ridiculous, folks. This is literally the epitome of trying to hide evidence. Corruption. By the way, do we have proof that Grant is in law school? Do we have proof that Grant is in law school? Has anybody actually, like, which law school does he allegedly go to? Because I want to check the roster. I'm digging into this guy. I'm getting tired. He probably ratted him out, just like he did me. Let's see. He has a LinkedIn account. This is useful. No, that's not him. Wait. That's a different photo. Well, it says Boston, Massachusetts. Is this him? I think that's him. But the photo is not his. That does not look like him unless I'm hallucinating. GrantSmithEllis.com is not a website, is not a valid website. Oh, you have to put in www. Okay, fine, whatever. Cannabis Control Commission. Yeah, that's him. I found him. You're welcome, says, great summary, thank you. I heard something about this murder having a federal case where she's not the suspect or something. Know anything about that? So there is a federal investigation. Colleen, do you have proof that he's not? I don't want speculation. I want confirmation. New England law. New England law. 1 year and 11 months. So that means he started in August of 22. So he would be a rising 3L. He probably just finished his second year of law. New England law. Let's see if I can find him. New England law is where he went. New England law in Boston. Grant Smith Ellis. Grant Smith Ellis. New England law. Well, I can confirm he's not on the public service honor roll at the New England law. He's graduating in 2025, allegedly. So he's not on the honor roll of the Public Service Committee. Hold on a second, folks. All right. Let's see. Let's have some fun, shall we? All right, here we go.
Thank you for calling New England Law Boston. Please listen closely as our menu options have recently changed. You may select from the following options or visit us on our website at www.nesl.edu for more information. To use our dial by name directory, please press 1. To reach the admissions office, the registrar office, or the financial aid office, please press 2. To reach the alumni office or career services office, please press 3. To reach the business. For the Office of Development and Alumni Relations, press 1. For the Career Services Office, press 2. Or press star to return. Please hold while I try to connect you.
We're about to find out.
Hello, you have reached the Career Services Office at New England Law. We can't take
Voicemail. Okay, let me try again. Let me see if I can get a live person. Maybe not in.
Thank you for calling New England Law Boston. Please listen closely.
This is
as our
New
menu
England
options have recently
law.
changed.
This is the law
You may
school.
select from the following options or visit us on our website at www.nesl.edu for more information. To use our dial by name directory, please press 1. To reach the admissions office, the registrar office, or the financial aid office, please press 2. For the admissions office, press 1. For the registrar, please hold while I try to connect you.
No, I highly doubt it, Lady Tammy. That would be a little extreme.
Doing a lot of Boston admissions office. How may I help you?
Yes. Hi. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. My name is Larry Foreman, and I'm an attorney out of Louisville, Kentucky. I'm actually interested in writing a letter of recommendation for one of your students.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you have a Grant Smith Ellis in your roster.
Hold on for me just one moment.
Take your time.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Is this for a student that's applying to our school?
No, allegedly he has been there. He would be a rising 3L, I think.
Oh, okay. Let me transfer you to our registrar's office because this is the admissions office. We don't have information for current students. So hold on just a moment.
No problem. Thank you.
Please hold while I try to connect you. Registrar's office, how can I help you?
Hi. Yes. How you doing today?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Thank you for asking. My name is Larry Foreman. I'm an attorney out of Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm interested in writing a letter of recommendation for one of your students. Do you? Yeah. Do you have a Grant Smith Ellis? He should be a rising 3L.
Yep, I have a grant out.
And so he just finished his second year of law school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. And is he a full-time or part-time, if you don't mind my asking, if you're able to reveal that information?
Full time.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay. We officially have confirmation. He is a law student at New England Law. You heard it right here live on the air. Unbelievable. I'm actually very shocked that he is, but hey, he's also been working for the jurist. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. So that's his profile. That does not look like him. I don't know why. Oh, you guys can't see this. Here we go. I don't know why. Oh, shoot. Let me cover up my messages. Oh, court's back. I'll do it later.
Back on the record on the Reed matter.
All right, sort of a side issue in the Reed matter.
A side issue. Did they get Turtle Boy removed? Please say no.
Okay, so why don't counsel identify yourselves, please?
Sure. Adam Lally for the Commonwealth, Your Honor.
Sarah McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Right, good morning.
Again?
Good morning, Your Honor. Timothy Bradl on behalf of non-party Aiden Kearney,
Oh,
who for the record is present in the courtroom.
Okay, does Mr. Kearney want to sit with you?
I think he's okay right there.
Okay.
If that's all right, Your Honor.
All right,
no.
so.
No.
Commonwealth, so I do want to say a question before we begin. Commonwealth, in your motion to exclude an individual charged with witness intimidation in
Oh my
connection with this
God.
case from the courtroom during the testimony of certain witnesses, before we
Oh my
begin,
God, no.
are you advancing the concerns of the DA's office or the concerns of the witnesses themselves, or both?
Both, Your Honor.
Okay,
Judge,
so.
if I may, I'm sorry to jump in, but just if I may, I
Sure.
do have what I think is a pretty substantial procedural objection.
Okay,
Maybe I'd ask that you sort of just make a quick bifurcation of the issues here, and we can address the procedural issue before we get into the substance of the motion.
sure, I'll hear you.
We could. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Your Honor, so the record is clear, because we may need an appellate record in this case.
Okay.
But I was here in the Norfolk Superior Court today, completely unrelated to Mr. Kearney, my client, as you know, in the other matters. And I was here today on the matter of Commonwealth versus Tylee Curry for a motion to suppress. And that's-
Which is a case that I am in the middle of
Right.
that motion to suppress with you.
Exactly. And I actually figured that we wouldn't do the motion and get a date. But I was fully focused on that matter and had no notice whatsoever that the Commonwealth was in the Reed matter, was seeking to exclude my client as a journalist from this courtroom. The first thing is that, and I know the court has a job to do in terms of ruling on this motion, and that's fine. And I ask that the ruling be that it be denied on procedural grounds. The procedural grounds are, Judge, that there's been no service of process whatsoever on a case where the government is seeking to essentially trample all over my client's First Amendment rights as a journalist. On 15 minutes notice. I know you gave me the thing 15 or 20 minutes ago.
And it's more than a half an hour, but I
Oh,
understand.
yeah, oh my God, you're really going to argue
So,
over minutes?
This is not something that I can process and absorb and make any sort of cogent arguments on the merits of the motion on that time period. And I'm sure that the court respects that. I'm trying to address it as best I can, but I think that the procedural issues here should control. And here's the procedural situation, Your Honor, that the government filed this 6-page motion. There's a footnote 2 that refers to them serving this motion on May 8th to the Associated Press. Why they couldn't just pull up my email and serve me is an open question that I'd like an answer to in open court. So they can serve the AP 2 days ago, but they can wait and not even serve me with the motion when I get here to court today on a completely unrelated matter, I might add. So there's some funny business going on here.
Yes.
And
yes.
There's been nothing but funny business from where I sit from the Commonwealth on Mr. Kearney's matters. And here we go again.
Yes.
So I don't appreciate that from
Yes.
counsel, from the Norfolk County
Yes.
DA's office, number one. Number two, Your Honor. Mr. Kearney has covered this case and written about 350 news articles on this case.
There we go.
He has developed evidentiary scoops on this case that have added to the quantum of evidence in the matter.
Yes.
He's never caused a problem. He wishes to be in the galley of journalists like everyone else and cover the case.
She's going to exclude
There's
him.
never
Just
been a
watch.
problem whatsoever. This is more personalized retaliation
Yes.
from the Norfolk County DA's
Yes,
office
it is.
against Mr. Kearney.
I agree.
Another point, Your Honor, is that this matter, as far as the Commonwealth is concerned, is res judicata ×2. Judge Krupp in this very court addressed this exact issue about Mr. Kearney covering this matter, being in the courtroom with witnesses that had a stay-away order. All the same people that the government is trying to have another bite at the apple with here. All these people, this was adjudicated fully with the Special Assistant DA before Judge Krupp, and Judge Krupp ruled against the Commonwealth. Judge Krupp said that Mr. Kearney was able to be in the courthouse covering this case regardless of any of these witnesses in the stay-away order.
Correct.
The stay-away order was exempted from Mr. Kearney. Mr. Kearney's presence in the courtroom, rather, was accepted from the stay-away order.
Okay.
So this is done. This has been adjudicated. It's been adjudicated again, Your Honor, by Judge Pomeroy across the street in the district court. One of these people associated with Mr. Kearney's detractors, Ms. Gattani, has taken up with the Commonwealth and sought charges and sought a restraining order against my client. And Judge Pomeroy recently, as recently, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we were across the street, Your Honor, seeking to vacate the order under the doctrine of unclean hands because this plaintiff
Look at Grant.
keeps
He's just
trying
like,
to contact my client while under a restraining order. Putting that aside, the ruling in that matter, Judge, was another
so
ruling in
upset.
support of Mr. Kearney's First Amendment rights. It was another ruling that said Mr. Kearney was not subject to the restraining order in any court of the Commonwealth. And the reason we brought that motion, Your Honor, was because these same witnesses, if the government here is again trying to advocate for their own personal issues, those same witnesses somehow took up with this plaintiff across the street, Ms. Gattani, brought her to court here in prior Reed proceedings to kick out Mr. Kearney, because at the time she had an operative order against him. And Mr. Kearney, to his credit, got up and left and got out of here. And that situation was what we addressed across the street with Judge Pomeroy. He agreed with us and said, you can go to court, you can cover this case. So number two, litigation number two, this has been established. Mr. Kearney followed all proper channels. We worked with the SJC media office.
Yes.
He has a press pass.
Yes.
He's doing everything in accordance with all of the rules and regulations that are in place. He's been harassed, and we have it on video, by other so-called journalists on this case at the steps of the courthouse. And he just wants to be here. He doesn't want to be an issue in this case. He wants to sit here and cover the case. He's done his job. He wants to watch the trial unfold. And
Yes.
he has an absolute fundamental First Amendment right to do so.
Yes.
Within the confines of this courtroom and within the
Don't
confines
forget,
of time, place, and manner restrictions.
innocent until
He's
proven
followed
guilty.
Everything. And
Say
he's
it.
here.
Please say it.
We've gone through all of these hurdles, Your Honor, and Mr. Kearney triumphed, as he should.
Yes.
Because it's the First Amendment that needs to triumph here,
And
not any particular person.
innocent until proven guilty.
And that's what he's doing. And there's absolutely no reason for the government to sneak behind my back.
Yeah.
To interfere with his First Amendment rights.
I love it.
It's outrageous. And on procedural grounds, I ask you to deny the motion for all of those reasons. And if the court has some hesitancy to do so with respect to these procedural issues, I ask that you set a date give me 7 days or so that I can properly respond to this motion.
And keep them in there.
On the merits of whatever's in these 6 pages
Yes.
of the motion that I haven't been able to look at. So thank you for hearing me, Your Honor.
All right, sure. And you wanted a response to your question from Mr. Lally on why you were not served, but the Associated Press was served.
That's correct.
There's
So if you
Aiden.
talk about that in the procedural part of this, Mr.
I
Lally?
can only imagine how
Yes,
he's
Your Honor.
feeling right now.
Simply put, Mr. Bradl, neither Mr. Bradl nor Mr. Kearney are parties to the case. I can't presume that Mr. Bradl's representation on one criminal case is going to extend to a motion of which he would be at best a third party on a separate criminal case. We are required under the SJC rules to serve it upon the Associated Press, which we did.
So I think that's your record now, Mr. Bradl.
Thank you.
Okay, on the procedural issue, okay?
Okay.
We have a jury out. I do want to address the merits of this.
So
as
do it a
best
week from
we
today.
can. And Mr. Bradl, at the end of this hearing, whatever I end up doing, if you want
Correct.
to come back and readdress it when there's more time, depending on how I rule, I'll give you the opportunity to do so. But I have to get this trial moving at
Sure.
this point, one way or the other.
Good,
So I'm
good.
going to hear the Commonwealth on their motion. Then I'll hear you, Mr. Bradl, to the extent that you can respond, okay?
Bull
All right.
schlacha.
So I'll hear you on your motion.
Your Honor, very shortly, very simply put, this is
Okay.
an instance in which the Commonwealth is not asking that Mr. Kearney not be allowed to cover the case or that he not be allowed to watch the trial. What we're requesting is a partial closure of one individual. And the legal standard for that is essentially a substantial reason. Substantial reason, Your Honor, being that Mr. Kearney has been indicted and has open cases for intimidating witnesses,
Who
specifically
cares?
witnesses in this case. He has confirmed statements
You're trying
indicating
to intimidate
publicly
him.
that his actions that he's taken in regard to those indictments were to prevent the case from ever going to trial. and
This is
to
unbelievable.
intimidate those witnesses. Those witnesses will be called to testify in this case, and what the Commonwealth is simply requesting is that he be excluded physically from the courtroom, not excluded from watching the trial, not excluded from covering the trial, but excluded physically from the courtroom while those witnesses are testifying from the stand.
And the witnesses you told me have expressed concern. What do you say about that?
Yes, Your Honor. The witnesses have expressed concern. The Commonwealth is concerned as to his presence affecting their testimony or their ability to recall. And
What?
for all of those reasons, the Commonwealth would submit the administration
Ability
of
to
justice
recall?
and the witnesses being able to testify, as well as the witnesses' own concerns are more than meet the test of the substantial reason for Mr. Kearney's exclusion during the course of their testimony.
Okay. Mr. Bradl?
Your Honor, the witness's concern has no legal materiality under the law. So the answer that I have is, so what? The witness's concern, where does that fit into the law here, Your Honor? This matter's been adjudicated twice. Mr. Kearney has the right to speak on the case. He's gone through all the proper channels to be here. He is not in any way wants to or is trying to make any issue of his presence here. And he's just trying to cover the case as best he can. And this is just a personal vendetta that's been carried out by the Norfolk County DA's office against Mr. Kearney. And, you know, this is where the court needs to hold the line on the First Amendment.
Yep.
You know, this witness intimidation statute, Your Honor, is an absolute abomination.
Innocent
It
unless
is
proven
going
guilty.
to be struck down. It's just a matter of time. And this is just a continuation of everything the special counsel's been doing to Mr. Kearney. Now the office itself is doing it. There's no reason for this motion to be allowed, Your Honor. There's no discomfort exception to the First Amendment, Your Honor. There's been absolutely nothing advanced, especially on an emergency basis, which is, I assume, why this is being done with no notice. There's been no establishment of any emergency. There's been no conduct whatsoever on the part of Mr. Kearney to justify this motion. And I did happen to see some reference to the Chestnut trial about published something to the effect of doxing a seated juror. That is false. Mr. Kearney wrote a story on a juror after the jury was discharged. There's absolutely no prohibition or problem or issue with that.
Correct.
And it is absolutely protected conduct by the First Amendment. And it is not in any way a grounds for this court or the Commonwealth to assert any wrongdoing against him.
So I can assure you I am not considering that incident in this. You all know I was the judge. I am not considering that experience in this motion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further, Mr.
Nothing
Bradl?
further. Thank you.
All right. So,
All right.
Mr. Bradl, I agree with you that Mr. Kearney is certified by the Office
Exactly,
of
our
Public
genetic.
Information pursuant to SJC Rule 119, and that he has a right to be here today.
However-
he arrived timely, and that he is registered. I have honored that 119 registration today, and I will continue to honor that.
However,
However,
Boom.
my role in this case, Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, is to assure that the defendant's constitutional right to a fair trial are honored and upheld. And because of the chilling effect
effect.
Mr.
She already wrote it
Kearney's
down.
presence, I find, will have on the witness's testimony, I'm going to excuse him while the named witnesses in the Commonwealth's motion,
Wow.
Julie Nagel, Christopher Albert, Colin Albert, Michael Proctor, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Brian Albert, and Yuri Buchanan. And the Commonwealth also today requested Nicole Albert because of the incidents that reportedly have been held at her home. I'm going to excuse him during all of that testimony. Now, in my media order, if you have it, I'm sure your client has it because they're handed out to the press. Under number 1, I say that anyone leaving the courtroom to the media during the trial proceedings may lose their seat and may not be permitted re-entry unless there is available seating. That will not happen to Mr. Kearney. I
Oh,
will
so
not
he's
take away his seat
what?
today. For other witnesses who are not subject to this order,
He's going to be special
that seat will remain
treatment?
empty.
Oh
No
my
other,
God.
person of the media will be able to take that seat in his absence.
What an
Okay.
ass.
Your Honor, one last thing, if I may, just came to me as I was standing here. Extension in same regard as to Nicole Albert for the address would be Brian Albert Jr., son of Brian and Nicole Albert, lives
All
at the
right.
same address.
It's for the same reason. So Brian Albert Jr. All right. So those are my findings, Mr. Bradl. It should give you enough to seek appellate action if you wish. Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. All right.
Wow.
All right. So I'll take a short recess. We can bring counsel back in and Ms. Reed back in, and we'll proceed with the trial.
Court, all rise.
Wow. He's receiving special treatment, not in a good way. Unbelievable. This literally, like, every time that, like, she speaks, I hear like Nazi salutes in the background. Is it just me? I'm terrified. I'm literally terrified of what I'm seeing. He's going to receive special treatment. How do you even do this? How? Oh my God. Oh, all right. Where were we? Back to this stupid idiot. Grant Smith Ellis. It doesn't even look like him. This is what I was saying. Unless it's him with short hair. I don't know. Can you guys see this? No, you can't see this. Sorry. This is him with short hair, I guess. I don't know. He doesn't look like him, but I could be wrong. Maybe with his hair long, he looks different. So this is his LinkedIn page, Grant's. He's an editor for grantsmithellis.com. I verified you have to add www. It is a real website that he created just so he can have SJC credentials. He knows the game. He is a law student in New England law. We verified it live on the air. If you missed it, then you can go back. He has been this jurist, I think he's editing chief of staff for new staff, as chief of staff for new staff at Jurist. He writes, I help to orientate new journalists with onboarding, training, and skills development. I feel so bad for the people he mentors or whatever. He used to be an assistant editor, and now he's a chief of staff for new staff. He got kicked out of the Massachusetts Cannabis Reform Coalition because he was blending truth with fiction. That's why he was like the president, chairperson, and now he's off. He's gone because they kicked him out. Aiden's out. Aiden just got kicked out because of witness intimidation charges. They don't want him in the courtroom. He can come back for the defense's case. No, me neither. But like, wow, just wow. And they his lawyer was in the courtroom, in the courthouse rather, on a completely unrelated matter, and they were like, "Oh, we need you. Come. We need you." And he's like, "I'm sorry, to do what?" "Oh, we have this thing. You need to argue on behalf of your client." He was like, "I'm sorry, what? I'm here on a different case." They're like, "We don't care." Yes, I know my mic's hot. Sorry. I'm just so frustrated. Oh. This is how it starts, folks. This is how your rights get eroded. Wow. This is unbelievable. Having Judge grudge her brother and sister. Oh, man. What are we going to do, folks? You know, I am going to be so happy when she finally gets acquitted. I'm going to be so epically elated when she gets acquitted and we can put all of this behind us. Oy vey. It's like, you know, your nervous system can only take so much. And I feel like I'm at the edge. You know what I mean? You ever get that feeling? You're just like, you're so drained. You just don't even know what's real anymore. And you're like, this can't be real, right? But it is. That's how I feel right now. You guys know that feeling? I'm just like, I'm so exhausted from being so shocked. That's literally how I'm feeling right now. You guys know that feeling? Well, they're going to notice that Aiden is no longer in his seat, but the question is, do they know who Aiden is? They shouldn't, because most of the jurors, you know, when they were questioned, I imagine, if they know anything about the case, they should know who Aiden is, because they don't know. He's the one who's been reporting on this case. This will not trigger a mistrial, but they are going to notice that there's just another media person that was there, and he's not there anymore, because he was wearing a white shirt, a white jacket, I believe. What was he wearing, folks? Do you remember? Tell me what he was wearing, because I don't remember. He's very noticeable. I think it was white jacket, pink tie. White jacket, pink tie. Does that sound right? Yeah, definitely. Aussie Wombat says, "What the f? What a load of rubbish." I agree. White jackets. See, he's very noticeable. Beige jacket, black shirt. I think pink tie, right? No tie. Okay, I thought it was pink tie. They may know him from other stuff. White jacket, black shirt, no tie. He's a local celebrity, used to report on sports. Shut up, Chrissy. You know more about it. I think you're a local, aren't you? I've seen your messages. You know a lot about this case. Are you from Dedham? It's smart that he didn't wear pink, because they would have kicked him out for that too. The Commonwealth must be in North Korea. Not. I wish it was. If it was just the Commonwealth, if the Commonwealth with the judge together. Yeah. Here we go.
You are unmuted.
$208.30. I can't stand her face. Oh my God, I can't stand this woman with a passion.
All right, jurors, once again, thank you very much for your patience. Your next witness, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Ms. Nicole Albert to the stand.
Nicole Albert.
your hand, please? You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now hearing should be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. I just need you to speak nice and loud into that microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
My name's Nicole Albert, Albert.
And where do you live?
Norwood,
And about how long have you lived in Norwood?
about a year.
And prior to moving to Norwood, where did you live? Where did you live prior?
Canton,
How long had you lived in?
my whole life.
Now, the specific address, where did you live in Canton prior to your move to Norwood?
34 Fairview Road,
And how long did you live at that house?
about 12 years.
And are you married, ma'am?
Yes,
What's your husband's
Brian Albert.
That means Brian's next, probably.
He's retired from the Boston Police,
About how long was he an officer with Boston?
about 30 years.
And do you have children?
Yes, we have 5.
And how old are your 5 children?
My oldest daughter is 28, and then I have a son who's 25. I have another son who's actually 23 today. And then I have twins, a boy and a girl, who are 20.
And your oldest daughter, what's her name?
Caitlin,
Your oldest son, what is his name?
Brian Jr.
And Brian Jr., does he live with you currently?
I love how the police are always having their sirens when they testify. Oh my God. I'm telling you, this is intentional.
Your other children, do they live with you as well?
My oldest daughter lives with her boyfriend in Easton, and my son Brendan lives with us. He's just finishing up college, so he's graduating this month from college, so he's back with us. My twin daughter, goes to college, so she's home now for the summer, but she has an apartment in Bridgewater. And then the twin boy is in the military,
And which branches?
the Marine Corps.
Now, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Mm-hmm.
And do you recall what day of the week that was?
It's a Friday.
And at the time of January 28th, 2022, did you work?
Yes, I've been a part-time lunch lady for about 9 years.
And you since retired, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You've since retired from that?
I haven't retired. I just didn't go back this past year, but
And around that date of, so January 28th, 2022, what, if any, significance was the next day?
What, if any?
January 29th was my son Brian Jr.'s 23rd birthday.
And over the course of that week, sort of leading up into the weekend, what, if any, plans did you make with reference to your son and his birthday?
He had mentioned he was going to get together with some friends on the Saturday night, the 29th, for his birthday. And I had said, okay, well, maybe Friday night, if anyone's around, any of our aunts or uncles or anyone, maybe we'll take you out, just local for some apps and drinks or something.
And coming up to that day of Friday the 28th, what, if anything, sort of changed in reference to those plans?
Well, they were, the forecast was saying a big snowstorm was coming in, and it looked like it was going to be late Friday into all day Saturday. So I had said to my son,
Aiden
well,
is
obviously,
Dr. Turtleboy.
doesn't seem like anyone will be able to go out on Saturday night. Why don't you just do something with your friends Friday night?
And had you, at that time, already made some plans with friends and relatives in regards to going out Friday?
Yeah, I had just mentioned to my daughter Caitlin and my sister-in-law Julie, and just had mentioned it to them about possibly getting together Friday.
And just to be clear for the record, when you say your sister-in-law Julie, how is she sort of related to you?
She's my husband's brother, Chris's wife.
And your husband has a number of siblings, correct?
Yes, he's the oldest of 7.
That's a big family.
Yourself and Julie Albert, you guys are friends?
Yes, we're very close.
And so, also just one last question, sort of leading up through the course of that week, where did your husband Brian go?
Sort of last minute, I believe it was Thursday of that week, he went to New York for a funeral.
And you know who the funeral was in regard to?
It was for a New York police officer who had just been killed in the line of duty.
And do you recall how he got there as far as how he went from Kansas
I
to New York?
believe he may have flown Thursday to New York, and then the plan was to fly back Saturday, but that changed with the weather, and he ended up, they didn't want to get stuck there. So after the funeral Friday morning, they drove home. A friend of his had driven, so he got a ride back with them on Friday.
And only if you know, but as far as that friend that he drove back with on Friday, do you know who that was?
The friend who I believe had the truck there and drove was Brian Higgins.
And is that someone, Mr. Higgins, that you were familiar with prior to that date in January?
Yes, he was a friend of my husband's.
Now, on that evening of the 28th, can you explain to the jury sort of how it was that where did you decide to go with your daughter and your sister-in-law?
We just decided to go to Waterfall, a local place, 5-10 minutes down the road from our house. My sister-in-law, Julie, picked me up at my house, maybe 7:30, 7:45. And we went to the waterfall, and I believe my daughter and her boyfriend, Tristan, were already inside at a table.
And when your sister Julie came to pick you up the house, in addition to yourself and your son Brian Jr., who, if anyone else, were one of his friends there at that
I
time?
believe 2 girlfriends may have already had come, and they were just sitting in the kitchen when I left.
And so you go out to the waterfall. When you get to the waterfall, where within the establishment did you go?
We came in, walked in. I believe to the left there was just some small tables, and I think Caitlin and Tristan were already sitting there. So we sat down at the table, and we ordered food, and just hung out for a little bit, had food and some drinks.
And as far as drinks were concerned, do you recall sort of what you were drinking that night?
I was probably drinking White Claw.
God bless you. Now, later on in the evening, was there any sort of live entertainment there?
Yes. After we ate, my daughter's boyfriend Tristan left shortly after because he was going to be going out shoveling, working with a plow guy. So he was planned to go home and just sleep, take a nap, because he was going to have to get up like in the middle of the night to go out and do that. So he had left. So it was just me, Julie, and Caitlin. And at one point, the waitress had said, "Oh, a band's going to be setting up where you're sitting. Can I move you?" So she just kind of moved us over to like a high top table.
And then after you were moved over to the high top table, who, if anyone else, came in to join you?
Shortly after, I believe my sister Jennifer and her husband Matt came in. I had texted her just saying I was there, if she was interested to come by. I think she said she was somewhere else. Did I want to come there? And I said, well, no, I'm already situated. The band's going to play. I'm just going to stay here. So she said, okay, maybe we'll come there. So maybe 9 as she came in with another couple. I believe they had been at a basketball game, their daughter's basketball game. So she came in with them.
And again, just to be clear, when you say your sister Jen and her husband Matt, what is their last name?
McCabe.
And she's your younger sister, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as after they came in, who, if anyone else, sort of came in and joined you?
Shortly after that, I believe Julie's husband, Chris, came in. He worked up the street at his pizza shop. So I believe shortly after 9:30, he came down, he came in. And then in the meantime, my husband was, getting close to being back to the area from driving back from New York. So I had texted him and said, hey, me and Katie and whoever else are here, if you want to come by. And he was like, oh, I'm kind of tired. It's been a long day. And I just pushed him a little, oh, well, Katie's here. She, just come. She wants to see you. So he's like, all right, maybe I'll pop in. So I believe so it was Jen and Matt and the other couple. And then Chris came in. And then I believe maybe around 10, Brian came in.
And after your husband Brian came in, was there anybody else that came in and joined you?
Shortly after, maybe 10:30, his friend Brian Higgins had come in.
So your husband Brian and Brian Higgins came in separately about a half hour apart?
I think so, yes.
And following that, who, if anyone else, came into the establishment and sort of joined your group at the hot tub table?
A little bit later, I think approximately 11, John walked in with his girlfriend,
And when you say John, who is John?
John O'Keefe.
And how did you or did you know John O'Keefe prior to that night?
I didn't know him that well. I think I had only met him once, maybe twice through my sister. Brief interaction. I think when he first walked in, actually, I didn't recognize him. I think I said to someone, "Oh, who's that?" Because they were kind of walking towards our table. And they said, "Oh, it's John O'Keefe." I said, "Oh." So they came in and they just kind of went to the end of the table where like my sister Jennifer and Matt and Chris and Julie were, because they knew them. I had never met Karen and I'd only met John once or twice. So they kind of just went to the other end of the table where Jen and Matt were, who they know, and Chris and Julie, who John had been neighbors with for a couple years. So they were all just kind of at that end talking.
And that's probably pretty well understood. But just to be clear, as far as the sister that you knew of John through, that was your sister that was there, Jennifer?
Yes, Jennifer.
And as far as you referenced his girlfriend, had you ever met his girlfriend before that night?
No.
Had you ever, so you had never met Karen Reed prior to that night, as far as you recall?
No.
And at any point in time, did you have any interaction, or what, if any, interaction did you have with either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
At one point, John walked by, towards me and my daughter at the table and said, "Hey, I'm going up to the bar. Did you guys need a drink or anything?" And we said, "No, thank you." I think he then kind of stopped and spoke with my husband for a minute, probably was asking him the same thing. Then John went back up to the bar, and then he went back down to, where he'd been standing. And that was the only interaction I had with him.
And as far as your understanding or your knowledge of Mr. O'Keefe, did you know what he did for a living?
Yes.
And what did he do?
I knew he was a Boston policeman.
And was he somebody, if you know, that worked with your husband?
No, I don't believe he ever worked with my husband. I don't believe they ever crossed paths at work. I think they were in different areas of, the job.
Fair to say Boston Police Department is a relatively large department, correct?
Yeah, it's like 3,000.
Now, with reference to...
I wonder how many of those 3,000 are corrupt. And why do you know the number?
I had none. I don't believe we spoke or we were introduced or anything. I don't think we spoke at all.
Now, turning back to Mr. O'Keefe just for a second, if you recall, what, if anything, do you recall him to be wearing as far as clothing was concerned during your interaction?
I believe he had a hat on, some sort of just sweatshirt, jeans, and sneakers.
At any point in time that you saw him or while he was talking to you, did you see any sort of like winter jacket or big coat or anything like that?
No.
And as far as his clothing was concerned, did you observe it to have any sort of tears in it or any dishevelment, anything like that?
No.
And as far as his face was concerned, or any sort of outward part of his body, did you observe, or what, if anything, did you observe with regard to injuries on him or anything like that?
Nothing like that.
Now, as far as your home was concerned, was that somewhere that either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed had ever been to before?
No.
And over the course of the evening, what, if any, discussion was there that you heard or were a part of in regard to sort of what was going to do or where to go after leaving the waterfall?
Well, after the band wrapped up, I was getting ready to leave, and I just kind of leaned over to my sister Jennifer and said, "Hey, Brian Jr.'s at the house. I think he just has 2 friends there. He's going to be turning 23 at midnight. If on your way home you wanted to swing by and say happy birthday, if you want to do that, come by and do that." And she was like, "Okay, And then I was just kind of gathering up my stuff, and I got ready to leave. It may have been mentioned at the table, but I had no idea, if anyone else was interested in doing that or wanted to do it. I had just said it to my sister.
And if anybody else had wanted to join or come along, would that have been an issue?
Oh, no, I would have had no problem if anyone sitting with us had come.
But as far as you knew, you just communicated indicated that to your sister Jennifer, and whatever happened after that happened.
Yes.
And when you say sort of the band was wrapping up and the bar sort of winding down, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, about what time was that?
Like 12:45.
And about what time was it, if you know, about what time was it that you left the bar?
A little before 12-ish.
And who, if anyone, left with you?
It was me, my daughter, Caitlin, and my husband.
And how did you get from the waterfall back to your house on this?
My husband drove the three of us back to Fairview Road.
And when you came outside of the waterfall and were sort of getting into your car and about to drive home, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the weather or what was going on at that point?
It was just starting to snow a little, nothing major. Just a little snowfall started coming down.
You could still sort of see the street and the blacktop.
Yeah.
And again, about how long a car ride is that, generally speaking, from the waterfall to your house on Fairview?
5 minutes, 7 minutes.
And as when you arrived at Fairview, who, if anyone, was there when you got there?
When we arrived and I came in, my son was sitting there with his two friends and my nephew Colin, who is Julie and Chris's son. He was there. I kind of bumped.
And
Sorry, I had to skip forward. It was not live.
Which door would be entering?
We usually use the side door. Initially I didn't like that because the side door walked right into the family room. So I kind of liked the other door. You could walk into a foyer you could take your shoes off, stuff like that. But eventually the people just didn't want to, it was, quicker to walk in the side door for the kids, I guess. So they would just go in the side door. But I think that night, because of the weather and it was wet out, I think I went in the front door so I could walk into the foyer and take my shoes off or wipe my feet or whatever. But some of the other people still may have gone in the side door.
And when you sort of come into that front door where you were going in to sort of take your shoes off in the foyer, is that when you ran into your nephew Colin?
Yes.
And about how old was Colin around that time?
It was 17.
And you mentioned that he had a ride. Did he give you any indication as to who that ride was?
He didn't mention at that time who the ride was.
And that sort of interaction that you had with Colin in your house prior to him leaving and walking out, about how long a period of time is that?
A couple minutes, not even, just a quick interaction.
And then he left the home. And you didn't see him for the rest of the night.
No.
And then you come into the home, and again, I'm sorry, who was there sort of initially when you come?
So my son Brian and his two friends Julie and Sarah were just kind of sitting at a kitchen table in like the dining room area of the kitchen.
If you could explain to the jury sort of the layout of your home at Fairview. So you walk into a foyer, and then where is the kitchen related to that?
Well, if you walk in, if you go to the right, it's like an open doorway, and that's kind of like the dining room part of the kitchen, but then it extends to the back of the house where it's like an island and like the sink and the counters and the cabinets and all that. So it's just like long.
So as far as the dining room and the kitchen, is there any sort of like wall or structure?
No, it's open in between the two of those things.
And then if I were to go sort of further back within that home beyond the kitchen and the dining room, what's back there?
Well, to the right, there's like the family room.
And is there anything as far as the wall? Can you see into the family room?
You can. It's like an opening. Yeah, it's not completely open, but there's an opening.
So if someone was standing in the family room and you were standing in the kitchen, you could see them, converse with them, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And when you come in and your son Brian Jr. is sitting around the table with two girls, Sarah and Julie, what are they doing?
We're just sitting there.
Was there any sort of music playing or anything like that going on?
There may have been. I'm not sure if there was music playing at that time, but there might have been.
When you say at that time, was there anything that happened later on?
Well, later on, I remember that we had music connected to like a little speaker that we were playing.
ADL
Yeah, but when I first walked in, I don't remember if they had music going or not.
And you get back to the house, and what is it that you're doing sort of when you come back?
So I come in, I assume I, said happy birthday to my son, said hello to his friends, and then I just kind of went to the kitchen area, and like they had ordered food, and so I just did my usual thing. I just was picking up, wasn't a huge mess, but I was just picking up the area, cleaning, probably check the bathroom to make sure that was clean. Just my usual thing that I do, just picking up around the house.
And I don't mean to minimize this in any way, but you basically did the mom thing where you go around and start cleaning up, correct?
Yeah, yep.
And is that something that you did sort of continuously throughout the evening, or?
Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Now, after you arrived home, who, if anyone else, came by your house?
Well, once we were there, it was me and my daughter and my husband, and Brian Higgins had come in. And then it was, Brian and his two friends were already there. And then my sister Jen and her husband Matt came in maybe like 12:15-ish.
And so, Mr. Higgins, did he come in around the same time as you, or did he come after or before?
Yeah, he came in the same time. I mean, I think he might have pulled up to our house before us. But we got out of the car and went right into the house. So I assume he just came in, basically around the same time.
Do you have any idea sort of what Mr. Higgins was driving that night when he came to your house?
I believe it was a Jeep.
Do you have any idea where, in reference to your house, where Mr. Higgins parked?
I'm not sure. I thought it was out on the curb facing up Fairview, maybe by our mailbox, but it could have been in the driveway. I'm not 100% sure.
Not something you were particularly paying attention to?
No.
And at some point after you and your daughter and your husband and then Mr. Higgins comes along, about how long a period of time is it between your arrival in the home and then when Ms. McCabe and her husband come?
15 minutes, 20 minutes.
And as far as your nephew Colin, when he had left, was Ms. McCabe and her husband there yet?
No.
And when Ms. McCabe and her husband come, where is it that, while you're at your house, where is it that everybody sort of congregates?
They came in and they sat down at the kitchen table with Brian and his two friends. And then I believe my daughter, Caitlin, was sitting at the table as well.
And back at your home after leaving the bar, was there any drinking that was going on there afterwards?
Yeah.
And about how long, skip forward to a little bit, people had left your home. About how long a period of time was it that people, from the time that you arrived back from Waterfall to the time that people sort of left and you closed down?
By the time everyone left, it was probably close to 2.
And who was the last person that left?
My daughter, Caitlin.
And you know how it was that she left, or who, if anyone, picked her up?
Her boyfriend, Tristan, picked her up because, like I said, he was going to have to get up anyways overnight to do the shoveling, plowing thing. So I think she didn't want to get stuck probably at our house for the next day. So she had just said, hey, can you?
Okay, I'm going to end your answer there. Next question, Mr. Lally.
Prior to your daughter Caitlin leaving, let me ask you this. As far as people leaving from your house, what was sort of the order of how people left and when people left?
I believe Brian Higgins left first, approximately 1:30-ish. Then Jennifer and Matt and Brian's two friends left 12:45, 12:50. And then, 1:45, 1:50, I'm sorry. And then Caitlin was probably closer to 2.
And when your daughter Caitlin left, who, if anyone, was left downstairs and sort of awake between yourself and the other people that lived there?
Just me.
So your son and your husband have both gone up to bed at that point?
Yes.
And at any point in time, so you mentioned that there were a number of people that were sort of around the table in the kitchen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that yes?
Yes, sorry.
where where did anybody else go sort of around your house during that time?
I know at one point, my husband and his friend Brian were in our family room. So I kind of went in there and was talking to them. We had some shelves on the wall that just had a bunch of pictures, old pictures from our wedding or when Brian was in the Marine. So we would just kind of look at them, laugh and talking about them. We stood in there for a little bit talking. And then eventually we just moved into the kitchen area where everybody else was.
And to your knowledge, had Mr. Higgins been over to your house at any point prior?
He may have been at our house for a graduation party, but I wasn't sure if he had ever like been inside because the party was outside. It was a cookout. So I don't know if he'd been in that part of my house.
Now, as far as the outside of your house, at any point in time during the course of the evening, did you hear anything unusual, see anything unusual outside of your house?
I didn't.
At any point in time, did you go, were you aware of anybody coming to your house that didn't come in?
I was only aware at one point I saw my son, I think, either looking out the window or at the door, and his friend Julie, she went out the side door, and I said, to Brian, is Julie leaving? And he said, well, no, she had asked her brother for a ride.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. So no conversation. And Mr. Lally's going to ask another question.
Okay.
So you saw your son's friend Julie go outside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And,
So that has to be a
Sorry.
yes or no. Okay.
Sorry.
and at some point, did Julie come back into the house?
Yes.
And about how long was it, if you know, that she was outside before she came back?
I don't think it was very long, couple minutes.
And over the course of the entirety of the evening, at any point, did anybody else, other than the people that you talked about previously, come into your house?
No.
And specifically, John O'Keefe or Karen Reed that you saw at the bar earlier that night, at any point in time on the evening of the 28th or the early morning of the 29th, did either of those people come into your house?
No, they never came into my home.
And at any point in time, even on that evening or that early morning of the 29th, were you aware that they were coming to you?
I actually wasn't. I think when I was in the other room with my husband and his friend, I had missed the conversations about Jennifer reaching out with John or her texting him and him texting her about where we lived. I didn't even realize that was happening, that they had any intention to come.
Let me ask you a little bit about sort of going back to the waterfall just for a brief moment. Over the course of your time there, how would you describe sort of the tone or how was everybody at the waterfall?
It was fine. It was a nice night. It was nothing out of the usual, just had a good time.
So nothing abnormal, no arguments, no fighting or anything like that?
No.
Same question as it relates to back at your house now at 34 Fairview Road. How would you describe sort of the atmosphere back there?
Same thing. We were just hanging out, sitting around the house talking, having a good time, nothing crazy.
Now, after your daughter, Caitlin, gets picked up and she leaves, what, if any, how long did you stay up after that?
I think once she left, I just did my final cleanup of the kitchen and, shut the lights, and I went upstairs to bed.
And do you recall anything about locking the front door or any of the doors to your house before you went up to bed?
No.
Is that something that you would always do, typically do, never do?
It was type of thing, we have 5 kids, everyone's coming in and out at different times. Like the last person in was supposed to lock it, but then, we changed the doorknobs and immediately the keys got lost. It was just always a disaster so a lot of times the door was just kind of left unlocked.
And when you went up to bed, you share a bedroom with your husband, Brian, correct?
Yep.
And was he awake or asleep?
He was awake. He was just lying in bed watching TV.
Now, as far as over the course of that evening after you come up to bed with your husband, do you recall anything about him talking to anyone on the phone or any phone conversations or anything like that?
I do not.
At some point you fall asleep and then you wake up the next day, is that right?
Yes.
And turning your attention to later on that morning of the 29th. So you had gone to bed about what time?
Probably 2:30ish, somewhere around there.
And it's a little unclear for my question, but when you go up to your bedroom, about what time is that?
About 2-ish.
And so the 2:30 that you're talking about, is that sort of when you fall asleep?
Yeah, sometime around there.
And from that next morning, how is it that you wake up the next morning?
Well, at some point between 6 and 6:30 that morning, my sister Jennifer came bursting into my bedroom.
And comes bursting into your bedroom, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, how would you describe your sister Jennifer, and how was she sort of acting at that point?
Well, she came in, my husband and I just kind of sat up in bed, and she's saying, he's out in the snow. We found him out in the snow. We don't know if he's okay. And my immediate thought was just that something had happened to one of my children, something had happened to one of her children. I couldn't imagine why she was in my bedroom at this time in the morning. And I'm like, Jennifer, what are you talking about? And she's like,
Objection. You said.
All right, next question.
Karen, if I may? Can we approach?
Okay.
Sorry, Aaron, one moment. Let me back you up just for a second and I'll get back. As far as when your sister Jennifer comes into your bedroom, do you know about what time that was?
between 6 and 6:30.
And fair to say that's not a normal occurrence?
No, it's never happened before.
And if you could just describe your sister Jennifer's demeanor when she first comes into your bedroom.
She was hysterical.
And she says some things to you, and then where did you go?
Well, I tried to ask her what was going on. What is she talking about? And she told us.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, I'm going to allow that.
So she told us, what had happened or what she had just witnessed outside. And we were just trying to understand what she's saying. Like I said, I didn't know if it was something that happened to one of her kids, one of my kids. And so I said, Jennifer, I don't know what you're talking about. So she finally was like, well, John, remember John from last night at the waterfall? And I'm like, what do you mean? How could you be outside? And she's like, you got to get up. The police are here and they want to talk to you. So my husband and I got up. I think I threw on a sweatshirt and we started to walk down the stairs. As we walked down the stairs into that foyer area, Officer Link was walking in the house.
And so that front foyer area would have been the front door you were talking about before?
Yeah.
And when you get sort of down to the bottom of the stairs, is it just Officer Lank? Are there any other officers with him?
It was just Officer Link at that time. And I kind of the door was halfway open. I kind of pushed it open, looked out, and I saw like a cruisers and a couple of guys, standing out in the snow. And I said, Jennifer, where's John now?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to move on, Mr. Lally. The objection is sustained.
As far as when you looked outside, did you see any ambulance or fire truck or anything like that?
No, I didn't see an ambulance. I did see maybe 2 cruisers. I don't remember. I don't remember if there was a fire truck there. I don't think there was, but I'm not sure.
And as far as Officer Lanker or any other officers, these are officers with the Canton Police, is that correct?
Yeah.
And where did they go once you opened the door?
So he came in the house, and I believe around the same time Jennifer's husband, Matt, had come. I assume she had called him or whatever. So it was me, Brian, and Jen and Matt, and Officer Lang said, can I come in? Can I talk to you guys? And we said, sure, absolutely. He came in, we sat at the table, and he was just kind of asking us all, okay, well, where were you last night?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, sustained. Next question, please.
Yep, thank you.
The table that you're talking about, where in the house are you talking about?
That same dining room area.
And without regard to sort of content of the conversation, but about how long a period of time did that conversation with the officer go on?
I don't know, 45 minutes, maybe. I'm not exactly sure.
As far as how the conversation ended, at any point during the conversation, did yourself or your sister or your husband or did anyone ever sort of end the conversation or tell the officers to leave the home or anything like that?
No.
And you welcomed them inside once you realized what was going on?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe another officer had come in as well.
Now, after the officers leave from your home, what happened then?
So I believe they left and said that someone would be in touch with us, the state police or somebody. So they left, and we were all just kind of sitting there in shock.
Thank you.
I'm asking Jennifer, like, what happened? How did you end up here? Like, what's going on?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question, please.
Your Honor, as far as, may we approach this briefly?
Okay.
So, Ms. Albert, without any sort of specifics of your conversation with Ms. McCabe, you had a conversation with her, is that correct?
Yes.
And
Hey, Darren.
about how long did that conversation go on for?
With just her? I mean, we were all just kind of sitting around the table talking.
And just to be clear, when we say all, who is all at this point?
It was me, my husband, and Jennifer and Matt.
And at some point later on, did other people come over?
Yes, at some point, my friend Brian Higgins, my husband's friend Brian Higgins, came over.
And do you know how he came to be at your house that morning?
I believe Brian called him to let him know. I mean, he had been with us the night before, and I think he had been friends with John and Karen, so Brian thought he should let him know.
And do you know about what time that was or how long it was after the officers left that Mr. Higgins came over?
Could have been 15, 20 minutes. I feel like he came somewhere around 7:38, and maybe the link had been done by 7:15. If he was around 6:30, I'm not really sure of the specifics.
And what happened then?
Then we were all just still kind of sitting there. Carrie, who is another person that was called that morning, she had been at the hospital, so she was kind of calling Jennifer, giving updates as to what was happening with John. So we were kind of waiting to hear how he was, if he was okay. Then around, I don't know if it was 8:30, I had noticed my sister-in-law, Julie, had pulled into the driveway, and I saw her get out, and she was putting a box of donuts in my son's car, whose birthday it was, because they had a bit between them where every year she did that. She got him donuts and she would leave them for him. So I saw her and I said to my husband, oh,
Objection.
Okay, not what you said to, not what you said to your husband. So wait for another question.
okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Spoke to her husband, and where did he?
Objection hearsay is what that was again.
He went to the door to,
It's a lot of hearsay
because
coming
Julie was
from
about to
Nicole.
get back in her car and leave. And I thought that she should be made aware of what was going on.
And so your husband goes to the door, and at some point, your sister-in-law Julie comes into the house.
Yes.
And if you know about how long a period was Julie at your house initially that morning?
An hour or two. I'm not sure.
If you're not sure, you're not sure. So as far as people that were over your house that morning, do you have any idea sort of how long people were congregating around your house after that initial Miss McKay bursting into your bedroom?
Again, it could have been between an hour and two.
And at some point, you had mentioned that the Canton officers had indicated that you may be spoken to at some subsequent time by troopers from the state police, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when was it that you, if you know, when was it in relation to this date that you spoke to anybody from the state police?
I wasn't interviewed for a couple days later.
And do you recall where you were when you were interviewed?
I was at my house.
Now, with reference to, you indicated that on the way back from the waterfall to your house at Fairview on the night previous, on the 28th into the 29th, it just started to snow, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, when you looked outside or opened the door for Officer Lank as he came into the house, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the weather and how it had changed in the interim?
Well, to me, it was starting to look like blizzard conditions. It was very windy. It was snowing. It was, the snow was starting to come down a lot now, and it was probably a couple inches accumulated. And it was,
Now, at any point in time over the course of that day on the 29th, did you yourself, did you go outside from your house into the front yard or the driveway or anywhere else?
I didn't.
And anyone else from your house other than the people coming and going? The people that live there, did you observe them going out into the front of the house area?
No.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ms. Albert, I'm placing before you a series of 8 photographs. I just asked you to look at them,
Mm-hmm.
review them, and then just look up whenever you.
Are these already in evidence?
They are not.
Yeah, I hope Jackson is on cross too, Chrissy. That would be so good. I've noticed that as well.
And just to ask you, ma'am, in general, in those photographs, do you recognize what's in those photographs?
Yes,
Okay, what do you recognize those to be?
that's my front yard.
That was your front yard when you lived at 34 Fairview Road?
Yes,
And what's contained in there is that a fair and accurate portrayal of around the time of January 29th, 2022?
yes.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will seek to introduce, admit.
Any objection, Ms. Little?
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I think it's
Yes, please.
the third attorney is going to be crossing this one because she's the one that's been objecting. It's her witness, I think. So actually, Jackson is not going to be crossing probably.
Hold on. We need to mark these.
So it's not going to be Yannetti. Almost certainly. I forgot the third lawyer's name. We got Yannetti, Jackson, and she just said it. I missed it. What is it, Chad? Help me out here. Chad is always right. Liza? Liza Little. Thank you. See? Chad is always right.
How many were there, Mr. Lally?
8.
So Ms. Little is going to be crossing, probably. We should be breaking for lunch here any moment. Apparently, Liza Little is their expert on expert witnesses. Yes, I did not misspeak there.
Thank you.
She's going to be crossing a lot of the state's experts.
May I approach this?
That's why they have her on the
Yes.
team. I have that directly from reliable sources. You think so, Tim? I guess we'll see. All right, it's noon. Come on, Kanoni. You need your lunch break. You need your cigarette break.
Yes.
Your benzodiazepine break. Wait, I thought they usually break at noon. I guess we have one more hour. That's fine, whatever. It's all the same to me.
Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch if you'd like, okay?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we broke at noon though. It's like 12 to 1 and then 1 to 4, like 9 to 12 and then break 12 to 1 and then 1 to 4. Am I hallucinating?
Yes.
Well, it was 12:30 yesterday because it was a short day. So she gave him an extra half an hour. But I'm like 99% sure she's going to break any minute now. And I've noticed that too, Chrissy. Karen looks very happy. I think she knows something is coming.
First, I'd just like to start with Exhibit 58.
Okay.
And again, Ms. Allen, do you recognize what's up on the screen there?
Yes,
And what do you recognize there?
it was my home at the time.
And from this photograph, do you see that front door area where the foyer is and the side door area that you were talking about on your house?
Yes,
If you could, using the laser pointer in your hand, just direct the jury's attention to where each of those are and indicate where they are.
that would be the very front door, and then the side doors over here in between.
And as far as the sort of what's in the front portion of this photograph, do you recognize that as if I'm standing and facing as this photograph is your house,
Mhm.
where you lived at 34 Fairview Road? What, if anything, do you have as sort of a landmark or an item that you observed in that sort of left area of the yard?
Flagpole?
Is there a fire hydrant there as well?
Yes.
And do you see anything as far as like a box or something like that?
Yeah, I believe there was some electrical box that I don't think we ever actually knew what it what it was or what it did.
Wow, you're so funny.
Or say all the years that you lived there, it's not something that you utilized or even knew what it really did.
No.
Now, this particular area of the yard, in its relation to the house, was that a part of the yard that was used or utilized by the family all that much when you lived there?
No.
And that part of the yard where the fire hydrant, flagpole, that is, how close is that to sort of the next door neighbors abutting of the property?
It's pretty close. It's almost, I would say, on the, close to the property line.
Now, as far as from the side of the road, in between sort of the curbing from the roadway and your front lawn, there's nothing there as far as a sidewalk or anything like that. Is that correct?
Right.
And the curbing that's between sort of the roadway and the front lawn, how would you describe that? Is it a sharp curb, rounded curb?
It was kind of a rounded curb.
Now, with reference to your driveway, do you see that depicted in this particular photograph?
You can't really see it in the picture, no.
Am I
But
the
mean,
only
it's-
one
would be over
who
here.
feels like when Lally's questioning these witnesses, they're the ones,
Yeah.
they're responding as if they're the ones under investigation?
The next photograph that you have before you.
Mhm.
Am I the only one getting this feeling? They're like, I really don't want to answer these questions as they may incriminate me. Vibe.
Again, Ms. Albert, you recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes.
And this is just another photograph of your home as it was around January 2022 at 34 Fairview Road.
Yes.
And from this photograph, you see now sort of the driveway and where that is.
Yes.
And if you could just indicate to the jury sort of where in this photograph that would be.
The driveway was right here. The two garage doors, and then there was driveway right along here.
Now, in reference to that driveway, or in reference to your family,
They're the criminals. Lally is the defense attorney. That's freaking hilarious. Yeah, they're being ultra cautious. I have caught that.
4. Let me think. 1, 2, 3. I think 4.
And who would those vehicles be typically operated by, and what kind of vehicles are we talking about?
I had my car. Which was a Cadillac. SUV. My husband had his work car. And then we had, I think, a Ford Explorer. And then the kids were driving a Ford Escape, maybe?
All sort of bigger.
That's what I'm saying. Hello, Shiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I could direct your attention to the next photograph. And again, what's up on the screen, is that what you have for you as the next exhibit?
Yes.
And just for the record, if you could read the number that's on that photograph now.
60?
And again, what's up on the screen, is that just another depiction of your home at that time?
Yes.
Now, when you open that door and Officer Lank is there and you invite him into your house to talk, you said that you saw some cruisers, correct?
Mhm.
Where in relation to your property were the cruisers when you opened the door and saw them? If you could direct the jury's attention to this photograph.
I believe they were right here. Somewhere here.
If I could direct your attention to the next photograph that's in there.
Yep.
And again, the photograph that's up on the screen, is that what you have before you?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm sorry to keep asking
Yes.
you this, but
Yes.
if you could read the number that's on the photograph.
63.
And so exhibit 63 up on the screen, if you could describe to the jury sort of what part of your property or abutting property are we looking at?
I believe our property And it's, somewhere along here.
Right about in the general area of the electrical box and fire hydrant you were talking about?
Yeah, yep.
And that next door residence there, do you know offhand what the number was for that?
I don't, maybe 36? I'm not sure.
Somewhere in the vicinity of your number 34.
Yeah.
And if I could direct your attention to the next photograph.
Mm-hmm. 64.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On face.
God, she's having
with
so much
respect to
fun.
This photograph,
It's disgusting.
As far as the sort of side door, do you see that in this photograph?
Yeah, the side door would be right here.
And there's sort of another door off to the right of the photograph. Is that correct?
Yep, that door would go into the garage.
And typically, at least around this time, January or late January 2022, as far as the vehicles that you were talking about, would any of those vehicles go in the garage, or what was in the garage?
The garage was a little bit cluttered, so if there was a storm coming, we would try to arrange things so we could at least maybe get one or two of the cars in there, but otherwise we didn't put the cars in the garage. Only if it was gonna, be a storm, we would try to get some of them out of the driveway.
And with reference to these specific dates, January 28th and the 29th, and this specific storm, do you recall anything as far as putting vehicles in the garage on those dates?
I don't, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we had maybe put mine in there because I had gotten picked up that night. I'm not sure.
And I believe, is there one more photograph that we have to talk about?
58.
May I approach, Ron?
Yeah. No. Okay.
Now, in addition, let me ask you this. At this time in January of 2022, did your family have any pets?
Yes,
And how many pets did you have?
we had one. We had a dog,
What was the dog?
Chloe.
And what type of dog?
Oh, here we go.
It's a
Dog
German
discussion.
Shepherd mix.
And how long had you had the dog at that point?
About 6 years, I believe.
And do you recall sort of when you got the dog, how you got the dog, or where you got the dog from?
We got the dog from a shelter in Texas.
And what type of, so shelter, or fair to say it's a rescue dog?
Yes.
And where did the dog typically go within the house?
It was when it was allowed anywhere in the house.
And as far as nighttime, would there be any sort of particular pattern of where the dog would sleep?
Yes, at nighttime when we went up to bed, it came up with us and it slept in our bedroom.
And at any point in time, during the time from when you returned from the waterfall to your home, where was the dog at that?
Well, the dog had been up in the room, and I believe my husband, when we first got in, brought her down to let her out to go to the bathroom.
And when the dog went out to go to the bathroom when you lived at 34 Fairview Road, where would the dog go? How would that?
Well, she pretty much she knew the door where to go. So when she had to go, she would go to that door and she would just go out and run in the backyard and go and on her own.
So on her own, and someone would sort of stand at the back door?
Yes.
And the back door that we're talking about, what kind of door is that?
It's a regular door.
I mean, is
Like-
it a door that opens? Is it a sliding door?
Oh, yeah, no, just a regular door. And it had, I think, a storm door, behind it.
And the backyard area of your home at 34 Fairview, when you lived there in around January 2022, how was that enclosed at all?
It was fenced in.
So dogs couldn't get out if everything's closed up in the backyard.
Yes, as long as the gates were shut.
And as far as that particular evening, after you returned from the waterfall, you indicated your husband let the dog out. About how long a period of time was the dog outside?
I believe it was pretty quick. She went, did her business, and came back in. I think she might have walked around the kitchen for a minute or two, and then I think you just brought her back upstairs.
And to your knowledge, did Chloe the dog, did Chloe go outside at any other point over the course of that evening?
No.
Now, at some point, obviously you've moved from 34 Fairview to North. Correct?
Hmm.
And when about was it in relation to this incident of January 29th, 2022 that you
We moved in April of 2023.
and what if any plans or discussions were there in reference to moving prior to January 29th?
Objection, Your Honor.
So not the specifics, but generally, not the conversation.
We had always planned to move, but it was in our plans that, what kids were starting to get older, we were looking to possibly downsize. So at the end of 2021, my husband's brother had sold his house.
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow that.
My husband's brother had sold his house and got a good deal for it. It sold pretty quickly. The market was really good at that time. So we just started thinking, hey, the kids are getting older. A couple of them had already moved out. We weren't going to be able to stay in that house. It's like a 5-bedroom house. Once our kids were gone, my husband and I wouldn't have been able to maintain that. Needed a lot of work. We couldn't afford it. So we said, maybe now's the time we should put it on the market and see what happens. So I think in November, December.
So hold on. Next question, Mr. Lally.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So you put it on the market, it sold, and then you moved.
Objection, leading.
The objection sustained. Ask a non-leading question.
There we go.
When was it that the sale was finalized?
April of 23.
And as far as selling the house, what, if any, relationship did that have to what occurred on January 29th, 2020?
It had no relation to it. We had already had thoughts and plans of doing it before that happened. We had reached out to a realtor in the end of 21.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Little.
Thank you, Your Honor.
312:15.
Good afternoon, Ms. Albert.
Hello.
You were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 29th for approximately 4.5 hours. Is that correct?
Going out swinging.
I was there from, say, 7:45 till about midnight.
So about 4 hours?
Yeah.
And you were there with a group of individuals, including Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Julie Albert, Chris Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Tristan Morris, and then were later joined by Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed joined your group around 11 p.m. Is that right?
Approximately.
Over the course of those 4 hours that you were there, did you see any sort of tension whatsoever between John O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Well, no, they were only there for an hour when I was there, but I didn't have really any interaction with them. But no, I didn't see anything.
So based on your observations, everyone appeared generally happy and in good spirits, correct?
Yep.
At any point while you were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, did you observe Karen Reed stumbling, slurring her words, or otherwise appearing to be under the influence?
I did not, but again, I never engaged in any sort of conversation with her.
Did you observe your husband and Brian Higgins engaging in sort of practice fighting techniques while you were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill?
I saw them fooling around with each other, yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could show just a screenshot of a video that's been previously marked.
A screenshot of it? Sure.
May I approach the recording?
Yes. So can you take this down just until the witness has it, please? I thought you were just showing the screenshot. You want to show it up here?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you doing
Should
with
we
it?
mark that as an exhibit? Or
I don't think there's a need to. I thought you were showing something to the juror that you were just. Yeah.
if I could show you this photograph.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we will mark it for
Oh,
identification.
sorry.
All right.
Ms. Albert, do you
So hold on. We need to. So we'll mark it for identification. So we'll take it from the witness for a minute, please.
Sorry.
We'll mark it for identification, but this is incorporated in what exhibit number?
I believe it's exhibit 53, Your Honor.
All right, just so our record's clear.
Thank you.
One screenshot is W for identification. Thank you. All right, so now you can,
Your Honor, if I may, I haven't seen what the witness is looking at.
okay.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so you want to display it on the screen now, Ms. Little?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sure, go right ahead.
Ms. Albert, do you see the two individuals sort of closest frame to us with their backs turned to us? Two males?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of hard to see. Who is the man that has just been zoomed in with the logo on the back of his sweatshirt?
I believe that's Brian Higgins.
Okay. And then the person with that sweatshirt is, you said Brian Higgins?
I think. Yeah. It's a little hard to tell.
Over the other individual who's sitting right next to him. I know this is kind of hard to see because the number's blocking it.
Yeah.
But does that appear to be your husband to the left, kind of in a fighting stance?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Ms. Albert, when your husband drinks, does he often
So I'm
spot
sorry, are we
anything-
taking this down or keeping it up?
Yes, Your Honor, you can take it down.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Albert, when your husband drinks, does he often get into sort of these practice sparring, practice fighting stances? Is that common for him?
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow it.
Oh, wow. Really?
No, I don't think so.
So this type of behavior was unusual for him.
No, I think they were just fooling around. I don't think there was anything much to it.
Oh.
My question was, is it unusual for you to see him sort of practice
Look at her
fighting?
clenching.
I wouldn't call that practice fighting. I think they were just fooling around. And yeah, maybe I've seen him do that other times, but it was fooling around. They weren't practicing.
Let me put this a different way. You do know that your husband is a highly trained fighter, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
What?
Your husband has no fighting experience whatsoever.
A highly trained fighter? No, he's not.
He has boxing experience, correct?
Objection.
So I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, please.
Oh my God. So wait, hold on a second. Nicole, Nicole's husband is Brian, right? Highly skilled fighter. He's an MMA fighter. Oh my God. One of the family members just walked out of the room. She basically ran, the yellow shirt lady. Oh my God. Oops. Sorry. I was going to show you guys this during the break. Oh my God. His own wife doesn't know that he's a mixed martial art fighter. Is this a joke? Hey, babe. I didn't know that your name is Chandler. That's the equivalent. I've known you for 4 months, and I don't know that your name is Chandler. Her own husband, she doesn't know that he's an MMA fighter. Well, she hasn't said it yet, but she called the defense attorney said your husband is a skilled fighter, and she was like, "Excuse me, no."
smells like perjury.
Oh, she just said it. She smells like perjury to me.
Ms. Albert, your husband has boxing experience, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank
He has
you.
fighting experience from his training in the military, correct?
I don't know what fighting experience.
Oh
from the
my
military
God,
means.
woman.
I mean, he was in the Marine Corps. He was out of the Marine Corps in 1992.
But he had training through the Marine Corps and through the Boston Police
She's
Department
white.
with fighting and defensive tactics, correct?
I assume so.
Her face is completely like drained of blood. Look at her face.
Ms. Albert, you testified earlier that you left the waterfall around, I believe, 11:45. Is that correct?
No, I said I think closer to 12.
Okay. Could I show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 53? Your Honor, would I have permission to publish Exhibit 53?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Mr. Bates, if I could have you start the video at 5:14. If you could pause. This video?
No, I don't.
Do you see the woman that's in the lower quadrant? Do you recognize that individual at all?
I don't. It's so I can't tell who that is.
I know this is not the best video, so I'll play a little bit more and see if you might be able to recognize it. You don't recognize who that individual is?
I mean, it could be me. I'm not sure. I can't really tell.
All right. So this is an instance where the video has to speak for itself, right?
Understood, Your Honor.
This is so good.
Good pause. Did you recognize the woman that just sort of walked forward?
Yes. Now seeing the coat, I recognize that it's me.
Uh-huh.
And did you see what was in your hand when you walked by?
I don't.
You could play just a little bit more. Ms. Albert, do you see you appear to be holding something?
Yes.
What is that?
Looks like a can.
And what time is that video?
11:58.
That would have been approximately the time that you were leaving the Waterfall Bar and Grill.
Yep.
You guys had a fun night. It looks like you kind of grabbed the White Claw. You're about to leave. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You testified earlier that you got home.
So can we turn the lights back on and, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Let me switch gears a little bit. You testified earlier that there are 4 cars that are usually parked in the driveway at 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you listed at least the make and model of about 3 of those vehicles.
Yeah.
Do you recall that?
Yep.
You said there's a Cadillac that usually is parked in your driveway, there's a Ford Explorer, and there's a Ford Escape, correct?
Yep.
But you also said there's a 4th car. That's your husband's work vehicle. correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What type of car is that?
That's a Ford Edge.
The Ford Edge.
A black Ford Edge.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, here we go.
Is there a reason that you didn't want to state or commit to that in front of this jury when you originally testified?
No, there's no reason. I was just trying to think of all the different cars. We have 5 kids. We've had a lot of different vehicles.
Uh-huh.
I was just saying it as I remembered it.
Cover.
News coverage in this case has revealed the importance of a Ford Edge. correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
In your mind, a Ford Edge has significance to this case, doesn't it?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, can you answer that? Does a Ford Edge have significance in this case too?
I've heard it talked about. Yeah.
Okay.
And what you've heard talked about is that an eyewitness saw a Ford-
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to stop you on that. The objection sustained.
Ms. Albert, you know there's significance to the Ford Edge. and
Come on,
that's the
Liza.
one
Objection,
thing
Your Honor.
That you did not mention in your initial testimony, correct?
So I'm going to allow that question.
Yes.
Can you answer that?
I just was trying to think of all the different makes and models. I did not purposely say that.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh my God, that
Where
is
did
good.
your husband strike that? You testified earlier that you weren't sure exactly where Brian Higgins parked that night when he arrived at your house, correct?
Right.
And you said, I'm not sure, but then you gave a pretty vivid description about him being parked, you think, in front of the house by the mailbox facing away from your residence, correct?
Right. Yep.
Is that statement something that's from your personal recollection or for something that you've discussed with other witnesses in this case?
No, it's from my personal recollection
Recollection?
of what I'm pretty sure I remembered. He pulled in first. He backed out so we could pull in, and then I'm pretty sure he pulled out and parked along the curb where the mailbox was.
So you haven't discussed that statement with any other witnesses in this case?
I don't remember. I
Yes, you have.
don't think so.
Yes, you have. I can tell.
You testified earlier that when you arrived at 34 Fairview, your son, Brian Albert Jr. was there, Julie Nicole was there, Sarah Levinson was there.
Look at her pursing her lips,
and
like
that your
constantly.
nephew, Colin Albert, was also present, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe sort of your interaction with Colin Albert when you walked in the door?
It was literally, I was coming in. I think we almost bumped into each other. I said, I didn't realize he was there. I said, hey, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I just come by to see Brian, but my ride's on its way. I'm about to leave. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, all right, I see ya. And he just kind of continued on. I think he must have went out the door.
So when you first testified, I believe you stated that you saw Colin seated at the table with Brian Jr., correct?
When I testified when?
Earlier today.
I don't believe I said
And
that.
shortly after he got up.
No, I don't believe I said that.
You never said that he was initially seated with Brian Jr.
No, I'm pretty sure I said when I walked in, I immediately saw him.
So when you walked in the door, you're saying he was already leaving to go get his ride, correct?
He was standing and looked to me like he was getting ready for someone who was coming to pick him up.
Got it. And when you pulled up with Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, that all happened around the same time, correct?
Yes.
And you have never mentioned seeing any other vehicle waiting outside the house for Colin when you arrived, correct?
No.
You didn't observe another vehicle outside the house.
No, I'm not saying he said to me, my ride's almost here. I'm leaving. So I didn't see anything outside about his ride.
And it was cold outside that night?
Yeah.
So he sort of walked out the door before his ride arrived?
I don't know if he went and stood and waited by the door. I came in the house and like I said, I immediately said hello to my son, his friends. I went and started doing my cleaning and I didn't really pay attention. But I assume he left because I never saw him again.
Assumed.
So you're not sure?
Objection, speculation.
I'm not sure. I mean, he could have been standing there waiting. He said his ride was about to be there.
Okay. But you didn't see him leave?
I did not see him leave.
Oh.
You testified that your German Shepherd, Chloe, was also at the house when you arrived home on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
She's a large German Shepherd.
Yep, about 70 pounds.
She's not great with strangers.
I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that it's kind of a poorly worded question. Would you say that she's good with strangers?
I'd say she's fine with strangers.
Fine with strangers. Okay.
Yep.
She's definitely not good with other animals, is she?
No, she did not like other dogs.
Chloe actually has a well-documented bite history, doesn't she?
Objection.
Does she?
With dogs. A couple dogs, yes.
Ms. Albert, she also has a bite history with humans, doesn't she?
Objection.
Ask that differently.
Ms. Albert, Chloe has injured other humans, hasn't she?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Yo.
In one incident in May of 22, when she got out, and was fighting with another dog. The woman whose dog it was tried to break up the two dogs, and while she was trying to break up the two dogs, she got injured.
There were actually 2 individuals who were injured in that incident, correct?
Well, there was 2 women, but I believe just one woman, from what I understand, had an injury from Chloe. The other one may have fallen or something, but I'm not sure 100%.
There were 2 women who were actually taken to the hospital after that incident, correct?
Yes, a neighbor had called the police or called an ambulance just to make sure they were okay.
And you mentioned that Chloe had actually escaped from the backyard
Mm-hmm.
in that incident.
Yes,
And that happens from time to time at your house, correct?
it had happened a few times, yes.
And Mr. Albert let Chloe out when he arrived that night, correct?
Yep.
Ms. Albert, you don't have Chloe anymore, do you?
Nope.
Nope.
In May of 2022, 4 months
'Cause you killed her.
after Mr. O'Keefe's death, you got rid of your family dog of 6 years.
Objection.
Oh, is that true? Is that when you got rid of your dog?
I did not get rid of my dog. I rehomed my dog.
Why did you rehome her?
Your dog is no longer in the Canton area, correct?
No, but I know where she is. She's in Vermont. And that previous testimony, that information has all been given. So if she was ever needed for anything.
Very defensive. Oh, so
we know where she
defensive.
is.
Is that testimony given to the defense?
Probably.
Was I present at the hearing where you testified about this?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Well, it's a simple
From
question.
the approach?
Sure.
Why is she so defensive about the dog? Like, I know exactly where she is. Stop asking me questions about it. I know exactly where the dog is. I'm pretty sure they killed the dog. I want to know who that woman in yellow is. Does anybody know? This woman right here. Who is that? Yeah, Aiden is no longer in the room. He used to sit right over there. Who's the woman in yellow? Does anybody know? She's sitting in John O'Keefe's camp. Paul's wife? Paul O'Keefe's wife? Okay, thank you. She like stormed out to text somebody during the testimony. That's Aaron O'Keefe. Gotcha. Thank you. You guys are the best.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Albert, you're aware that we actually sought records regarding Chloe and her bite history, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Was
Well-
it from this witness?
Rephrase.
It was.
That's a yes or no from there. Yes or no?
Well, it was from a custodian.
Okay. I'm going to sustain the objection.
All right, Ms. Albert, I want to direct your attention back to the early morning of January 29th.
Mm-hmm.
You testified that everyone who arrived at your house just after midnight was sort of generally gathered at the table in the kitchen area, correct?
Yes.
And over the course of that evening, you had never heard any sort of disruption inside, correct?
No.
You didn't hear a crash.
Nope.
Certainly
There
never
needs
heard-
to be an answer.
Sorry, no,
You certainly never heard any screaming or yelling,
no,
and you never heard the screech of any brakes outside, correct?
correct.
Okay. On July 20th, 2023, you testified before a grand jury, and Mr. Lally was not there, correct? And Aiden McLaughlin was also not there, correct?
Okay,
Do you recall that?
yes,
And you were specifically asked during the course of that hearing where everyone was positioned around the table that night.
mm-hmm,
Do you remember that sort of line of questioning?
yeah,
And you explained that your sister Jennifer was seated next to Brian Jr.
Objection, is there a question?
We're getting that question, so go ahead.
You were very specific about kind of how people were seated at that table that night. Do you remember that testimony? You explained that Jennifer was seated next to Brian Jr. and Matt McCabe was across from him. Do you recall that?
Yep.
But when you were asked where your husband and Brian Higgins were positioned at the table, you weren't able to place them there. Isn't that true?
because I don't believe they ever sat at that table.
And what you told the grand jury during that hearing was that at least at one point, they had left the room and they were outside of your view, correct?
I'm not sure I said that.
You told the jury that you were cleaning and you weren't sure where they went, correct?
Well, initially, when I first came in the house and I was doing my thing, I don't remember exactly where
And
they were.
you told the grand jury that you don't recall seeing them at the table, but you don't recall where they went because you were kind of focused on cleaning, correct?
Right.
And there was one point at which you said that you joined them in family.
Yes.
Is that right? But while you were cleaning, you said, I don't really know what they were doing, but they weren't there, correct?
Yes,
So you recall your husband and Brian Higgins left your view and went to some other place in the house that evening, correct?
they could have.
Ms. Albert, how many
thought it
steps
was-
is it from the front door to the basement?
Steps.
It's a poorly worded question. I will rephrase it. When you open the front door of your house,
Uh-huh.
how many steps does it take to get to the door to the basement?
4 or 5.
You testified earlier that Brian Higgins left 34 Fairview first, correct?
Yes,
Then Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Sarah Levinson, and Julie Nagel left together, correct?
Mhm. yes,
And the very last person to leave your house that night, you said today under oath, was your daughter Caitlin, correct?
yes,
And you said she left your house close to 2 a.m. Is that right?
Yep.
Ms. Albert, that's not what you told Sergeant Lank on January 29th, 2022, is it?
I don't recall what I told him.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at your statement to Sergeant Lank?
Sure.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to direct your attention to page 2 of the supplemental.
Would you show the prosecutor, please?
Just, can you please reflect?
Your Honor, may we approach this briefly?
Okay.
Wow. This is crazy.
Ms. Little, maybe you can clarify that.
Sure. May I approach?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to take a look at page 2.
Mhm.
And you don't need to read it out loud, but if you could read this very last paragraph here,
Down hit 7? Or,
actually, this section right here,
okay.
the second paragraph to the bottom. And you
Mhm.
don't need to read it out loud, just look up once you're done.
And are you going to clarify that, Ms. Little? Statement?
Oh, how would my approach, Your Honor?
D-
Ms. Albert, this is just a police report containing an interview that was conducted, correct?
Yep.
With Sergeant Lank on January 29th, is that right?
Yes, the morning of.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to?
Yes,
is your
yeah.
recollection- excuse me, is your recollection refreshed?
Yep.
Isn't it true that you told Sergeant Lank that your daughter left at 12:15 on January 29th?
I do not recall saying that. I've maintained in every interview testimony I've had that she was the last to leave. So I don't know, it was very confusing that morning. Officer Lank was trying to ask everybody, where had you been? Where had you been? When did you get here? When did you leave? I don't know if somehow it was misconstrued, but I've always maintained that Caitlin was the last to leave.
Understood. And that's because Sergeant Lank was talking to everyone at the same time, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting around the table. It was a little, everyone was, we're all in shock and it was a little confusing.
Sure. It was more of a conversation than an interview. Is that right?
I guess you could say that.
Oh.
Ms. Albert, do you deny saying that to Sergeant Lank?
I don't believe I said that. I think maybe someone was saying, oh, Jen and Matt got there at 12:15. He misunderstood. It got misconstrued later in his notes. But I've always said, in any other time I was questioned, that my daughter was the last one to leave. So I don't,
So you weren't trying to protect your daughter.
no.
You were forthcoming about always providing the troopers with information about the individuals who were present that night.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Albert, you and your family discussed this case at length before your interviews with law enforcement, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did you?
Of course, we discussed the case, but just everything that was going on, we were trying to figure out what happened.
And you testified that you spoke to Trooper Proctor on February 3rd, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
That would be 6 days after this occurred. Is that right?
Yep.
And that's the very first time that you were ever interviewed by Massachusetts State Police.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Aside from that sort of conversation you described with Sergeant Lang.
Yeah. Yep.
Excuse me.
When you spoke to Trooper Proctor on February 3rd, 2022, you left a lot of names out of individuals who were present at your house on the morning of January 29th, 2022. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure who was left out.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor that your son, Brian Albert Jr., was home that night?
Was home the night of his birthday, or what do you mean?
Yes, the night of his birthday.
Well, yeah, he was home with his friends.
Did you tell that to Trooper Proctor?
I assume I did.
I assume I did.
So if it wasn't in his report, that would have been his mistake?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor your daughter, Caitlin Albert, returned home with you after the waterfall?
I believe so.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor that your son had 2 female friends at your house when you arrived?
I believe so.
And notably, did you tell Trooper Proctor that Colin Albert was present at your house?
I probably didn't, because anytime I was questioned about who was there, to me, it was who was there afterwards, hanging out from like the 12:15 point on. I didn't consider Colin as being there because I literally crossed pass with him, he left, and I didn't consider him being a part of the group that was there.
Were you asked who was at the house that night?
I assume he asked that.
I
But I also didn't
assume.
mention the people that
Stop
my son
assuming.
had previous. Because I didn't consider them as part of the people that I was with when I got home.
Yes or
You
no?
never mentioned Colin Albert to Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And you never mentioned Colin Albert to Sergeant Lang.
Correct.
Ms. Albert, you knew that if you gave Trooper Proctor the name of your nephew, that he would have to interview him, correct?
Objection.
All right, I'm going to sustain that objection.
You didn't want your kids or your nephew to have to tell the police what they saw, what they heard, and what they did that night.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Is
Yeah.
that true?
That is not true.
Ah.
But you never told Trooper Proctor about Colin Albert.
I didn't mention Colin because I didn't consider him as part of the group that we were hanging out with.
What?
After the waterfall. Because he left as soon as I walked in. I didn't even think of him.
Didn't even think of him.
No.
I think it might be important for the state trooper who's investigating this case. to
Oh
know the
my
individuals
God.
who are leaving at the precise
You were covering
time
for him.
that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed arrived at the house.
Objection.
Sustained.
No, that was a proper question. Wow, she's covering. She just admitted basically that she was covering for him.
Ms. Albert, what's the first thing you remember waking up to on the morning of January 29th?
My sister bombing into
Ms.
my
Little is the
bedroom.
prosecutor here. She's literally prosecuting her for murder right now.
Your Honor, if we could approach.
Okay, approach sidebar. Or you?
Look at her. Look at Nicole. She's literally like, she looks so guilty. She looks so guilty. Why? Huh, I guess we are going to 1 o'clock. Judge Kearney must have changed it. I wanted to show you guys this real quick. Did she slip up and accidentally say there was a fight?
Happy birthday to my nephew Brian at 34 Fairview Road.
Okay, and you learned that from him, correct?
Yes.
It's hearsay.
All right, so you had learned that Colin was at 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, correct?
January 28th. To Fred.
So is it your testimony?
To say happy birthday to my
Oh.
nephew Brian at to Fred.
So is it your testimony?
To say happy birthday.
Did she
to my
accidentally
nephew
say the
Brian.
fight?
For Fairview on January 29th of 2022, correct?
January 28th. To Fred.
So is
Ms. Little, we're going to mark what you have in your hand for identification.
Thank you.
That's interesting.
Thank you.
Robert, I'd like to show you
Oh, Friday.
a photograph
Okay.
that purports to be.
Just show her the photograph.
Ms. Albert, do you recognize that photograph?
Yep.
What is it?
It's a picture of my house.
Does it appear to be generally to scale?
Yep.
Do you recognize sort of the flagpole in the yard,
Yes.
the house,
Yep.
the driveway?
Mm-hmm.
And that looks
Yes.
accurate. And that looks accurate in terms of scale, correct?
Yes.
Permission to publish?
Sure.
Ms. Albert, where is your bedroom located?
You want me to show it?
Yes, if you could explain.
Right up here.
So your bedroom is in that upper left-hand quadrant, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The far left window That's your bedroom window.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, the two of them.
So on January 29th, you had 2 bedroom windows on the left side of the house that were facing the front lawn where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
Yes,
You're aware that Ms. Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Carrie Roberts arrived outside your property around 6:04 a.m., correct?
yes.
Did you hear any fire trucks that morning?
I did not.
Did you hear any ambulances?
I did not.
You didn't see the flashing lights of emergency vehicles outside your bedroom window?
I did not. My blinds were shut. My curtains were closed. I did not see anything.
You testified the very first thing you
Oh,
remember
wow.
was Jennifer McCabe waking you up in your bedroom.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, just to keep track, are we going to take this
Yeah,
down now, Miss
how?
Little?
How
We
do you
keep
not
the lights
notice?
on.
Like
I just want to keep track of that.
people,
Okay.
lights, police, sirens, fire,
What
police,
time was that?
medic.
I thought it was somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
How do you not notice that?
May I have a moment?
Oh
Sure.
my God. Like, are you in such deep sleep? Do you have earplugs and like a mask and like you took some melatonin and CBD to just like knock yourself out, sleeping pills,
If I told you it was
trazodone,
around 6:45 based on video surveillance footage, would you quarrel with that?
screaming, people screaming?
If that's what you say.
Okay. Does that sound about right to you?
Yep. I initially from the beginning just said 6:30. I wasn't quite sure.
Ms. Albert, what
That's
about the 2
incredible.
calls that you received from your sister at 6:07 and 6:08 a.m., which were answered?
I never answered any phone calls from my sister that morning.
You're aware that the Cellbrite records indicated that you answered 2 calls from your sister.
Objection, Your Honor.
The,
7 and 6:08 a.m.
the objection sustained.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Okay.
You could take a look at this report. Ms. Albert, you received
If I could just see what's being shown to the witness before. Thank you. May we approach?
Okay. I'm going to take that, please.
Look at the O'Keefes. They're like having a grand old time just sitting there laughing. What do they have to laugh about? Are they laughing that they're going to get away with murder? This is so bizarre.
All right. So let's mark one for identification, please.
Yeah,
Ms.
even
Little.
Karen is on the edge of her seat. That's true.
Okay, and you can give it back to Ms. Albert,
Thank you.
and you can go back and ask a question, and let's see where we go with this, okay?
Ms. Albert, do you recognize this document?
Recognize it?
Do you know what it is?
Well, yeah, I see what it is.
Does it refresh your recollection as to the 2 calls you received on the morning of January 29th?
It says here 2 calls were
With-
placed.
Okay, don't read it, but you were asked a specific question. So if you could answer the question, please.
Does that refresh your recollection to the 2 calls you received from your sister on the morning of January 29th?
She may have placed those phone calls to me, but I never answered them.
You received a call from Jennifer McCabe on January 29th at 6:07:42 a.m. that lasted for 9 seconds, correct?
She may have placed a phone call to me. I never answered it. I never spoke to her that morning.
You also received a second call from your sister at 6:08:17 a.m. that lasted for 7 seconds, correct?
Objection.
Go ahead and answer that.
It says that, but I never answered a phone call from my sister Jennifer that morning.
You're aware that cell phone companies have what are called tolling records, correct? That show if there's a voicemail or something of that nature.
Objection, Your Honor.
But she can answer if she knows.
Testimony here today that you never spoke to your sister that morning.
I never spoke to my sister on the phone that morning.
Who else was in your bedroom that morning?
Me and my husband.
My husband and I.
You and Brian Albert were the only 2 individuals who could have answered those calls that morning, correct?
We're the only 2 people in the room, besides the dog.
And at 6:07 a.m., someone had a 9-second call with Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Objection.
All right, sustained. And you've got more for this witness, I imagine, Ms. Little?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so
They're
we'll
gonna take a
the
break.
lunch and recess, folks. It's 1 o'clock.
All right.
Sorry.
All right,
Bye.
folks. Let's talk about some of this stuff real quick. Oh, I already played the one that I wanted to show you. So okay, so she was not saying fight, she was saying Friday. Yeah. Okay, so not all that interesting, but I did tweet the 22 points that I made during the live.
It's probably in there.
I think that's not an evidence yet. I think that's from someone else's phone.
Madam Court Reporter, do you need me for anything? Okay.
So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back at 2. I guess. Oh, I screwed that up, didn't I? Because on StreamYard, I thought we're gonna break at 1. So we're gonna. I mean, I thought we were gonna break at noon. So I guess they changed it. Okay, that's fine. I'll just have to delete it on LinkedIn for now. I'll just have to save changes. So we'll come back at 2, folks. We'll come back in an hour. My biggest fan is back. We're gonna come back at 2. I hope you all have a wonderful lunch. The stream is up. I'm gonna push you guys into it real quick before I forget. Here we go. This is upcoming. Boom, boom. Customization. Boom. Redirect. Boom. Save. I will see you folks in an hour. Have a good lunch. Bye, everybody.